Chapter 308. The shouts penetrated the door of the locker room, waking up the team members who were resting with their eyes closed. Everyone was moved and excited, as if there was some kind of passion boiling in their hearts. They looked at each other excitedly. Geyser coughed and said, "It's almost time. I'll arrange the order of appearance. Lu Cheng will be the last one to go up today." "Me?" Lu Cheng blurted out in surprise. "Shouldn't it be my brother-in-law to go up and in last year's regret? I'm ready to wave a towel on the bench." At this time, Lin K also made a move. He stepped forward and asked, "Coach, I want to go up." Geyser laughed and said, "Are you still holding a grudge over last year's game? Why should you care about this kind of opponent? It's good that you want to win, but don't lower yourself too much. It's settled. You'll be the last one next week." He didn't give Lin K a chance to complain and directly made the decision. Lin K's rare request was blocked. He tightened his lips and became more silent. Geyser looked around, took a sip of wine and said with a smile, "You kids can see for yourselves that little Yen is the one with the best performance during the team training. Those two brats are not human at all. She'll be the first one. No one will object, right?" Yen Zhika was rarely praised by Coach Shi in such a serious way. She couldn't hide her joy. Her eyes sparkled. She pursed her lips and turned her head, looking to the side and secretly reaching out to pinch Lu Cheng's palm. So happy. Well, Coach Shi's seriousness was only limited to the part where he praised her. Since mastering the internal training method, Yen Zhika had improved rapidly. Her strength was obvious to all. The team members present all shook their heads to show their approval. For this kind of thing, even if they wanted to go against their conscience, they had to consider the reality. Offending Yen Zhika was equivalent to offending Lu Cheng. Of course, they didn't know that offending Yen Zhika was equivalent to offending Lin Quebec. "You're the first one to go up today. Play well, and aim to improve yourself. There will be people behind you," Geyser reminded. "Yes, Coach Shi." Yen Zhika closed her legs and straightened her back. She deliberately acted cute in a military posture. The excitement in her heart was obvious on her face. Geyser smiled and shook his head, as if he was thinking of his daughter at this age. He sighed slightly and turned to Li Mao. "Is there any problem with you being the second one?" Li Mao's nervousness had mostly been cured after numerous actual battles. With Lu Cheng behind him, he felt even less burdened. He replied loudly, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry." After deciding on the order of the main force, Geyser casually pointed at the members and said, "Sun Jian Lin Hua Kai Zongming." Since he couldn't meditate, he had fallen behind Yen Zhika and Li Mao. Next year he might be overtaken by Kai Zongming. Guoqing was even more depressed. She felt that her position in the martial arts club was getting more and more awkward. Not only did she not become the main force, but she also failed to be chosen as the substitute. What was more sad was that if it wasn't for the consideration of the old members, she wouldn't even be on the main list. As for He Zi and Wang Dali, the two newcomers were full of curiosity about everything in the locker room. They used their eyes as cameras to record everything they saw. They didn't have any negative feelings. "Phew." Kai Zongming exhaled and whispered, "My preparation was in vain." "What did you prepare?" Lu Cheng turned his head curiously and asked. "I prepared a draft of the dialogue time." Kai Zongming sighed. "What a pity. My fame has to be delayed." Lu Cheng squinted at him. "You think too much." While they were teasing each other, Geyser asked Jiang Fuxing to write the list of the main force and the substitute and submit it to the competition supervisor. After waiting for less than a minute, he clapped his hands and said, "Okay, let's go." When they were walking to the door, Lu Cheng moved closer to Geyser and asked in a low voice, "Master, there's no difference between me and Lin K in this match. Why do you have to stop him?" This was very puzzling, and Coach Yen was also very confused. Geyser snorted. "Haven't you heard of the saying that the most rigid thing is easy to break? You're polishing Lin K?" Lu Cheng asked in realization. Geyser smiled. "His temper needs to be polished, or he'll break himself in the future. The key thing will cause too big of a blow. So I have to start with this kind of small thing." "Got it." Lu Cheng stepped back and returned to Yen Zhika's side, relaying his master's words. Yenjika listened with mixed feelings. After a few seconds of silence, she sighed. My brother is too tensed up. Creak. The door to the changing room opened, and the warm sound from outside rushed in without any obstruction. It poured into everyone's ears and burned their blood. Songqing University. Songqing University. At this time, the students saw Lu Cheng and the others coming out. Their cheers became more and more ferocious, as if they had just finished an outbreak. We're coming. Lu Cheng closed his eyes and tilted his head to look at Yenjika. From her eyes, he read the same thoughts as his. National University martial arts competitions were coming. Today's level of competition was not broadcasted on TV, internet, or even prepared and recorded. Only Xu Rui led the team to record the material for the program. She stood at the edge of the stands, feeling the pure madness and wanton in the sound waves. She couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's so good to be young. I used to spend my youth like this too. But now, I have to run around for daily necessities, worry about falling in love, be confused about the future, and have a headache about interpersonal relationships. I'm so busy that I'm physically and mentally exhausted. How can I have the same state of mind as before? However, venting out all the negative emotions that had accumulated in such an atmosphere seemed to be a good choice. Xu Rui's blood began to boil as she listened. She wanted to close her eyes, forget about reality, and scream at the top of her lungs. Not far from her side, Li Liantong and the others were already waving their hands and creating a human flesh forest. In a place further away from her, Zhao Chang and the others were no longer reserved and polite. They were shouting until their faces were completely red. In the locker room of the away team, listening to the noise outside and recalling the previous experience, Guyu spontaneously said in his heart, "That was then, and this is now." He looked at his father and said, "As usual, I'll be the vanguard. You decide who goes first. Even if you lose, you have to lose beautifully." It was obvious that Songqing University would let Lu Cheng or Lin Ke be the last one to train the substitutes, so that they wouldn't have to worry about fighting them at the beginning. Based on this, according to normal logic, I should let Ji Lan, a sophomore, be the vanguard to fight more matches, accumulate more experience, and contribute to the renewal of the martial arts club. However, I'm a senior and want to graduate with dignity. I want to draw a perfect conclusion to the last match of the martial arts club with victory. Losing 2 matches in a row to Lu Cheng or Lin Ke is not a failure. In the ranking event 2 weeks ago, Fei Sanli was defeated by a strong group and failed to qualify. He was in low spirits and did not bother to argue with Guyu's arrangement. He glanced at Jilan and agreed in a muffled voice. Jilan didn't care. She just wanted to broaden her knowledge and gain some experience in fighting with the mighty of Dan stage. They all stood up and walked out of the locker room without the momentum of last year. After the audience shouted the names of the leading players and substitutes, the referee stepped into the ring and made a gesture to both sides. The first match between Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Guanan School, Yenjika versus Guyu. Hearing that it was this beautiful student who left a deep impression on everyone, the audience burst into a climax again. Shouts and trumpets intertwined. Guyu. Lu Qing didn't show his worry. He looked at Yenjika and said with a smile, "Here comes the challenge." "Okay." Yenjika pursed her lips and nodded with a solemn expression. She stood up and high-fived Lu Qing and Lin Ke before walking towards the stands with her head held high. She had tied up her long hair and looked radiant with bright eyes and white teeth. Guyu didn't expect the girl to be the vanguard and was stunned. When he came to himself, Yenjika was standing in front of him. The referee raised his right hand and said, "Talk time starts now." According to her profile, she is only in the second year of amateur ranking event, but she didn't attend the amateur ranking event in September. Since she can beat Sun Jian, who is in the first year of amateur ranking event, she must be at least in the first year of amateur ranking event, or even stronger. She looks gentle and delicate, so she must be a well-educated girl. She is definitely not good at quarreling or talking, and is easily affected by words. Guyu thought of this and deliberately grinned. Although there are many female seniors with physical invulnerability, I still have to say that the ring belongs to men. Women shouldn't get involved. A special case is always a special case. Yenjika was infuriated. She wanted to retort, but soon she calmed down. She knew it was impossible for him to have a good debate with her. In terms of cursing, swearing, and provocation, she might not even win against a primary school student. So annoying. He is unreasonable. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes to calm down. Ignoring Guyu's following sarcasm, she repeated Lu Cheng's words in her mind. Martial arts competition is not about words. 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 When Guyu found that the beautiful girl in front of him was so calm and unaffected, he shut up in time. The 3 minutes were almost over. Yenjika opened her eyes. Her body was in its best condition. The referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Begin. The new National University Martial Arts Competition started. Chapter 309. As a fighter with a tough fighting style, Guyu was confident that he could defeat such a gentle and pretty girl. Therefore, he didn't back down and launched an attack to warn her. His legs suddenly exerted force and his body leaped out like an arrow. In a flash, he put his left hand forward and turned his shoulder to punch with his right arm. Bang! The wind roared, complementing the roar of the king of beasts in Guyu's mind. Black Tiger Steel's heart. Facing such a powerful attack, the seemingly weak and slender Yenjika remained calm. Instead of dodging, she pressed her feet against the ground and channeled her strength to her spine through her ankles, knees, and hips. Then she moved her arms. With a cracking sound, she raised her left arm to block and punched out with her right fist from her chest and abdomen. Strength against strength, strength against strength. The girl's response was out of Guyu's expectation, but he was confident and didn't make any changes. Bang! A muffled sound echoed in the air. Yenjika's body trembled, and her shoulders swung backward as if she couldn't bear the opponent's tremendous strength. Although her steps were light and agile, orderly, her face turned red and her center of gravity swayed unsteadily. Humph! You want to compete with me in strength? When Guyu saw the opportunity, he stretched his tall body and transformed into the god of giant spirits. He strode forward and punched fiercely from the top right to the bottom left with his right fist like a giant hammer. He showed no mercy to the fairer sex. This caused the audience to exclaim in unison. Their hearts were in their mouths as they held their breaths. How could a girl of amateur second pin fight against a professional ninth pin fighter? At this moment, Yenjika suddenly stopped without any warning. Her body kept trembling, and her temples bulged strangely. She braced her legs and lowered her waist into a sitting position, like a wooden figure swinging back and forth. Her right hand clenched into a fist, as if she was moving or blocking the attack. Bang! The sound of collision broke out. Cracks like a spider web appeared at the feet of the two figures. Guyu was surprised to find that Yenjika's punch was not much weaker than his own. Together with her blocking skills, they were evenly matched. How could it be? While he was still in shock, he saw the girl lean back slightly and draw out her left foot with borrowed strength. Bang! Her straight and slender leg tightened, and turned into a scalp-numbing whip. It went straight for Guyu's knee, making his pupils shrink to the size of needles. Endless brutal blizzard. This also caused the surrounding students' exclamations to come to an abrupt halt. Each and every one of them had an astonished expression. They never thought that the gentle and weak girl would actually be able to fight evenly with the tall and strong muscular man, and even take the initiative to counterattack. In the beginning, Yenjika chose to resist Guyu's attack with her feet, because she wanted to test her own strength. Of course, she only dared to do so because she was quite confident. Lu Cheng was sure that her physical quality was close to professional ninth pin. After a punch, she finally determined her own condition. Her strength was not as good as Guyu's, but it was not so bad that she could not make up for it. She could steadily block his attack by taking a step back. The reason why she took a few steps back was that she had used the yin-yang twist, which she had improved by leaps and bounds in the past few months. She borrowed her opponent's strength to fill the gap between them, and found the opportunity to use the 24 blizzard strikes. And once the blizzard arrived, the more they fought, the stronger and fiercer it became. Guyu didn't have time to think. Facing the whipping kick with explosive airflow, he could only tighten his thighs and twist his hips to resist. Bang! Yenjika spread her legs. In her mind, she thought of the continuous blizzard. Her toes touched the ground quickly, her spine straightened, her body leaned forward, and her right arm pulled back like a bow shooting a tiger. Bang! Her fist swung out violently like a drill bit. Guyu was deeply impressed by Lin Kei's 24 blizzard strikes. He knew that he couldn't let his opponent accumulate momentum and become crazier. He had to interrupt her, or he would be in great danger. His arm muscles bulged and he swung his waist and back, lashing out at her fist like a whip. He wanted to withdraw immediately to prevent his opponent from borrowing too much strength. Bang! Just as the single whip hit his right fist, Guyu quickly retracted his arm and tried to change his position to disrupt the girl's brutal blizzard. But Yenjika's body trembled again. Her right arm mechanically swung backward like a lever and raised the other side to attack. Bang! She shook her left arm and turned it into a big spear. With a crisp sound, she pointed it at Guyu's throat. The whistling wind and falling blizzard didn't stop at all. The more they fought, the stronger they became, leaving no chance for her opponent to dodge. The combination of yin-yang twist and 24 blizzard strikes. How could this work? How could she borrow strength to attack? Guyu's scalp tingled, and he was inexplicably frightened. He didn't dare to look down on the gentle and delicate girl in front of him anymore. He braced himself and swung his left fist with explosive strength. He couldn't go on like this. After 2 or 3 moves, she would be able to suppress him in terms of strength and momentum. All resistance would be eliminated in the vast blizzard. He had to use his trump card to fight back. Last year he was defeated by Lin Quebec. The memory of the 24 blizzard strikes was still fresh in his mind. He had been thinking hard about how to solve the problem if he accidentally fell into a disadvantageous position. Apart from using temporary explosive moves or the deafening sound skill to stop the fight, there was another way, which was to catch the opponent's arm and break their connection. Guyu didn't know the deafening sound skill, the secret skill, the blast punch, or the bear form. He was good at catching, which he had used to defeat Lin Quebec. Therefore, he worked hard in this aspect and felt that he wouldn't be at a loss if he was in the same predicament again. Now was the time. With a dignified expression, he hit the air with his left elbow and blocked Yenjika's attack from the side with his fist. Then, with a bang, he used the abrupt force and clasped the girl's forearm with 5 fingers. So what if you're at the initial level of meditation? I can also conceal spirit and chi, and my listening skill is not much worse than yours. Oh no! Concerned shouts came from both sides of the stands. Lu Qing crossed his arms and stood in front of the seats without anyone noticing. Guyu was overjoyed. He was about to shake all the joints in his body to tear his opponent apart when Yenjika suddenly took a deep breath. Her temples bulged and the skin on her left arm tightened. Her skin tightened, expanded, and bounced. Guyu's 5 fingers couldn't exert force and slipped to the side temporarily. The girl seized the opportunity and shook her forearm to break free from his grasp and grabbed his wrist instead. Yenjika had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. As a girl who liked to make plans, how could she not be prepared for encountering Guyu? She knew that with her current physical condition, it was almost impossible for her to finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes with the help of the yin-yang twist. Just like her cousin Lin Kei last year, he could only finish a round of 24 blizzard strikes. If she were to fight Guyu head-on like this, she might not be able to hold on in the end. Therefore, she used the yin-yang twist mixed with the 24 blizzard strikes to scare Guyu. She took advantage of the fact that he didn't know her well, and was eager to get out of the predicament, and induced him to use his best catching skill. The Ji family had its own way of catching. Lin Kei had used it to deal with Lu Qing before. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, victory and defeat were reversed. The spectators were dumbfounded as they shouted in silence. Guyu's 5 fingers clasped together. Guyu was frightened. His arm suddenly went soft and then tightened and shook. Yenjika heard his movements. She pressed and pushed with her left hand as if she was doing Tai Chi, perfectly neutralizing his struggle. Then she lifted her waist and kicked out her right leg, forcing Guyu to raise his leg to meet it. Bam! Pulling back his legs, Yenjika took advantage of the force to open his joints. His body shook, and the 5 fingers of his left hand pulled fiercely, like a tiger biting its prey. Guyu screamed in pain. His arm muscles were twisted and his bones were dislocated. While he was screaming, Yinjuka pulled back her left arm and turned her body sideways. She visualized the scene of snow collapsing and crashed into him fiercely. The mighty mega avalanche. Bam! Her fatal hit was blocked by the referee. Guyu's facial muscles twitched and he grimaced in pain. First round, Yinjuka wins. The referee raised his right hand. I lost. I actually lost. I actually lost to a woman who is obviously not as good as me. Guyu forgot about his pain and stood there in a daze. Is this the end of my 4-year martial arts career in university? Yinjuka was overjoyed. She turned around and waved her right fist at the home team seat. I won. I won. Chung, I defeated a strong professional 9th pin fighter. Lu Qing smiled and clenched his fist. He echoed her words with some inexplicable feelings in his heart. Since the beginning of their relationship, he had gradually taken over Ku's training and learning from each other. It could be said that he had guided her growth step by step. Now, seeing that she had the strength to enter the 9th pin, and had defeated a strong enemy that he had never dared to imagine, he was both satisfied and amazed. Ku had unknowingly become stronger. What the hell are you thinking about? Kai Zongming stood beside Lu Qing and asked curiously. How do I put it? Lu Qing gave an analogy. Seeing Ku defeat Guyu is like seeing my daughter grow up day by day. Do you understand this feeling? Kai Zongming thought for a while and squinted at him. He spat out 2 words. Pervert. F***ck. A pervert is a pervert. Lu Qing was almost amused by him. At this time, Jilan walked quickly to the ring under the signal of the referee and the chorus of Yinjuka from the audience. Seeing this, Lu Qing took a step back and came to Lin Kei's side. Just wait and see. I may not have a chance to fight. Maybe Ku and Senior Li Mao will finish them all. There is no need to worry about such a strong opponent. He comforted his brother-in-law. He didn't say any great principles but only facts. In his mind, his brother-in-law was a capricious guy who said, I understand all the principles you say, but I just don't listen. Lin Kei nodded imperceptibly, and his expression was less tense. I thought you'd open your mouth and say a few words. Lu Qing was delighted at his little fairy's victory, and was in a good mood. Lin Kei glanced at him and said calmly, I don't want to do crosstalk. What? Lu Qing was confused. Kai Zongming beside him said thoughtfully, I feel that he is mocking both of us. Chapter 310. Lu Qing was enlightened. He looked at Kai Zongming and said, It's not a feeling, it's a fact. Damn it, I was ridiculed by my brother-in-law. I thought he was a cold and serious person. Kai Zongming chuckled. With his back to Lin Kei, he raised his eyebrows and said, Qing go. Beat him up. He knew that at this distance, no matter how low his voice was, it couldn't escape Lin Kei's ears. He just wanted to be funny and liven up the atmosphere. You're making it sound like a dog biting someone. Lu Qing looked at him with disdain. Why don't you do it yourself? Do it myself? Then should I beat him up? Or should I ask for a beating? Kai Zongming spread his hands. Haha, I thought of that joke. A hunter hunting a bear. Lu Qing pursed his lips and held back his laughter. He didn't continue. Kai Zongming was well informed about such jokes. He didn't need to finish listening to them to understand. He also trembled and almost burst out laughing. Bitch in his heart. At this time, Jilan finished the stone steps and stepped into the arena. She stood opposite Yinjuka. Seeing her, Yinjuka suddenly had an idea. Should she leave the arena now and give the opportunity to senior brother Li Mao to help him get rid of his worries and complete his reincarnation? In December last year, Li Mao was too nervous and lost to Jilan. That was why Songqing University Martial Arts Club's hope of advancing to the next round was lost. While thinking, she rejected the idea. She felt that it was too ritualistic. It was not only disrespectful to Jilan, but also put more pressure on senior brother Li Mao. Maybe it would be self-defeating. Just let nature take its course. Yinjuka sighed silently. She seized the last bit of time to continue recovering her body. Although the battle just now didn't last long, the high-intensity battle with the senior professional 9th pin still took a lot of energy out of her. Especially during the process of painstakingly creating an opportunity. She was highly strung. Once it was over, it was inevitable that she would feel tired. When she exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, the referee raised his right hand and announced, "Begin the second round." When Ji-lan first collected information about Songcheng University Martial Arts Club, she found that Yenjika didn't participate in the amateur ranking event in September. She had suspected that Yenjika might have surpassed the level of amateur first pin and would reach the level of professional ninth pin in late October. However, it seemed that Yenjika didn't sign up, which made Ji-lan uncertain about her speculation. She thought that she was overthinking. Unexpectedly, Yenjika really had the strength of professional ninth pin, and even defeated the team leader Guyu in a head-on battle. The members of Songcheng University Martial Arts Club were all monsters. Ji-lan changed her mind and chose the guerrilla fight that she was best at. She nimbly moved to Yenjika's side, slid close to her, and gave her a low kick which made a crisp sound. Yenjika swung her right shoulder backward and pulled her body to face Ji-lan. She took advantage of the situation and whipped out her leg, which tore the air and made a sharp sound in the ring. Bang! When the two legs collided, Yenjika quickly swung her right leg back and used the momentum to punch Ji-lan's abdomen. Ji-lan knew how terrible the 24 blizzard strikes was. Once they collided, she immediately used the momentum to retreat. Her footwork was light and coordinated, leaving no chance for her opponent to follow up. Seeing this, Yenjika arched her feet and rushed forward silently, quickly chasing after her opponent. One of them retreated and the other advanced. The distance between them narrowed quickly, as if they were dancing. During this process, Ji-lan changed her direction several times, but she was not as agile as Yenjika, who had begun to control her center of gravity. She could not get rid of her opponent and was about to be attacked. At this moment, she suddenly stopped, which made Yenjika unable to stop in time. Yenjika took a step forward, and the distance between them was less than an arm's length. With a bang, Ji-lan raised her right leg high and kicked her opponent's chin as fast as lightning. Her movement was like the kind of movement in dance where one would raise one's leg and press it against one's shoulder to stretch the ligaments. But such a fierce and fast force would hurt the body and make it unstable if one's ligaments, fascia, and muscles had not been trained to a certain level. This kick came suddenly and without warning, like an assassin's attack. Yenjika's back was covered in cold sweat, and she realized that she had been careless. In a split second, she used her waist as a fulcrum and leaned back, trying to avoid this dangerous kick. At the same time, she raised her hands according to her usual practice to resolve the follow-up killing move. Bang! The shadow of the kick flashed in front of Yenjika's eyes, and the sound of the wind hit her face. After the kick missed, Ji-lan exerted strength in her waist and back, pulling the right leg that was raised high, and made an aggressive axe chop, swinging it between her opponent's chest and abdomen. Serial kick technique. Yenjika half raised her body and raised her hands in time. One of her arms was raised to block the back of her opponent's Achilles tendon, while the other hand was empty and pushed to the side. As soon as the two sides touched, she lowered her arms to reduce the force. Together with the push from the side, she barely blocked the axe kick. Just when the spectators were relieved, Ji-lan took advantage of Yenjika's block and leaped into the air. Her left leg flew out and kicked at her opponent's body. Triple kick technique. Seeing that Yenjika couldn't raise her hands or legs to block the attack and was in imminent danger, she bounced her waist and straightened her body with great strength. Taking advantage of this momentum, she pulled back her arm that was blocking Ji-lan's tomahawk chop. With a flip and a push, she forcefully shook off Ji-lan and threw her far away, avoiding the fatal kick. After the 3 consecutive kicks failed to hit the target, Ji-lan immediately changed back to a wandering battle. She moved her legs and kept changing her position. From time to time, she would close in and kick, low, sideways and roundhouse kicks. Yenjika also calmed down and countered the moves as they came, but she didn't give up the previous fighting style. Once she found an opportunity, she would chase and attack, but she was more cautious in her mind. During the chase and the exchange of blows, she locked onto her opponent again. Relying on her own flexibility, she gradually narrowed the distance between her and Ji-lan, making it impossible for her to get rid of her. Ji-lan gritted her teeth and suddenly jumped up. She kicked her legs quickly, fiercely. "I've been waiting for you." Yenjika had watched Ji-Lan's competition videos and had the previous experience, so she was prepared for this. Her spine suddenly bounced like a dragon breaking out of its shackles. She stretched her muscles and bounced her waist and back, forcibly changing her center of gravity. She pulled her body back and dodged to the side, dodging Ji-Lan's consecutive kicks in the air. Seizing the opportunity, she stretched out her hands and pushed to the side of Ji-Lan. Ji-Lan immediately flew diagonally and fell down. With a shake of her feet, Yenjika rushed forward. Before Ji-Lan could steady herself, Yenjika put her right foot in between her legs and leaned forward, making Ji-Lan completely lose her center of gravity and fall backward. Yenjika caught Ji-Lan with her left hand and straightened her body. With a shake of her right arm, she punched Ji-Lan's temple with a bang. Round 2, Yenjika wins. The referee shouted loudly. Yenjika retracted her hand comfortably. She gasped for breath and felt that she was almost at her limit. In the battle just now, she was so focused that she didn't think about this problem. She just wanted to defeat Ji-Lan before she really couldn't hold on anymore. Ji-Lan glanced at her and sighed dejectedly. She shook her head and turned back to the stone stairs. Fei Sanli touched his bald head and stood up helplessly. Gu Jun and Gu Yu also looked gloomy. If this situation continued, their martial arts club might not even be able to see the leader of the other side. That would be too shameful. Without waiting for Fei Sanli to come to the arena, Yenjika waved to the audience on both sides with a sweet smile, and left the arena amidst waves of cheers. Lu Qing walked up to her, extended his fist and bumped it with hers. He praised her sincerely. Awesome. Before this, he thought that Yenjika's achievement would be perfect if she could defeat Gu Yu. Unexpectedly, she defeated 2 opponents in a row. Yenjika smiled and raised her chin. She said, "Do you admire me?" "Yes, very much." Lu Qing answered with a smile. He didn't care about Xu Rui, who was recording the match nearby. This reporter should have known about his relationship with Yenjika. After all, she almost stopped them from being intimate. At this time, Li Mao left his seat and walked to them. "Come on." Lu Qing and Yenjika bumped fists with him. Since Li Mao and Fei Sanli were new to the arena, they didn't need to recover their strength. The referee asked the staff to clean up the arena. Li Mao stood in a clean and empty place. Looking at the bald martial artist not far away, he couldn't help but think of the past. He sighed. At that time, he was trembling with fear and nervousness. At that time, he was filled with self-blame, regret, and pain. He really did not expect his current situation at all. Nervousness almost didn't affect the match. He even had a chance to reach the professional 9th pin. He closed his eyes and recalled Coach Shi's consolation and guidance, Lu Qing's persuasion and encouragement, and the understanding and support of the special training members of the martial arts club. Thank you all. At the home team seats, Lu Qing sat down with the exhausted Yenjika and looked up at the arena. What is senior brother Li Mao thinking about? He saw Li Mao with his eyes closed and gossiped out of boredom. Kai Zoming took the initiative to answer. Maybe he's thanking the country, the TV station, Songqing University or something like that. Don't talk nonsense. Lu Qing glanced at him. You know it's nonsense? We can't read senior brother Li Mao's mind. How can we know what he's thinking? That question of yours was wrong to begin with. Kai Zoming chuckled. After listening to their crosstalk for a while, Yenjika leaned over and whispered in Lu Qing's ear. Do you think senior brother Li Mao can win? There's hope. Although senior brother Li Mao has only started the internal training method for a month, and is still at the level of a strong amateur first class, and Fei Sanli is almost at the level of a professional 9th class fighter. But he participated in the ranking event and fought a few days of high-intensity matches, so he won't be in good condition. Let's say 60-40. Senior brother Li Mao, 40-40. Lu Qing analyzed. It sounds like you want senior brother Li Mao to lose? Yenjika opened her eyes and said with a smile. If he loses, I'll have a chance to fight. Lu Qing said with a smile. Yenjika pursed her lips and looked at him from the corner of her eyes. She said with a smile. Is it interesting for you to bully a potential professional 9th class fighter after a hard fight? Lu Qing thought for a while and sighed while covering his face. It's not interesting. Chapter 311. When the ring was cleaned, The referee let Li Mao and Fei Sanli get closer to each other. Then he raised his right hand and announced the start of the match. Li Mao had succeeded in meditating for several months now. He no longer had a superficial understanding of the 24 blizzard strikes. He was ready in both form and spirit. Therefore, he took the initiative to step forward, trying to seize the opportunity to attack and find an opportunity to use his moves. At this moment, his body was slightly trembling with a little bit of nervousness. But this was not the abnormal behavior that affected his judgment. It was the normal psychology of wanting to win and fearing to lose, which stimulated the secretion of hormones and nerves. Fei Sanli had anticipated Li Mao's opening attack. He didn't play guerrilla warfare or avoid the sharp edge of the 24 blizzard strikes. He lowered his head and bulged his muscles. He turned into a bison and rushed to meet Li Mao's attack. His bald head reflected the light in the room, creating a bit of ferociousness. When the two were about to collide, Fei Sanli suddenly turned sideways, raised his left arm, and waved his elbow to hit Li Mao's chest. Li Mao was not in a hurry. He visualized the mega avalanche and raised his arms, one supporting and the other pushing. He firmly blocked Li Mao's elbow attack and took advantage of the momentum to tighten his waist and back, ready to counterattack with his leg. But Fei Sanli was not easy to deal with. He followed Li Mao closely. With the help of the collision, he swung his waist and waved his right fist toward Li Mao's face, aiming at the bridge of his nose and the space between his eyebrows. Li Mao straightened his spine and channeled his strength to shoot out his left arm to block in front of his face, firmly protecting himself. Bang! The punch made a muffled sound and stirred up the wind. At this distance, Li Mao's eyes were the first to be affected. He subconsciously became weak to avoid the wind blowing in and irritating his eyes. This was the effect Fei Sanli wanted to achieve. While Li Mao's line of sight was blocked, he used his left elbow as a fulcrum to fling out his forearm. He spread his 5 fingers and fiercely and quickly slapped Li Mao's throat. Originally, he could have used this move from the very beginning, but he patiently waited until the enemy's eyes were blown by the wind. Then he leisurely used it. For a moment, Li Mao couldn't see clearly and lost confidence in his judgment. He couldn't help but feel a little scared. He didn't dare to take the blow head-on. He exerted strength in his legs and jumped back a big step. He quickly adjusted his muscles in an attempt to control his center of gravity in the shortest time possible. How could Fei Sanli let go of this opportunity? Since his attack missed, he quickly closed in on his opponent. Then, with a burst of strength from his shoulders, he turned his palms into knives and chopped down from both sides. Li Mao had just steadied himself and opened his eyes again. He didn't have time to dodge, so he could only shake his arms and swing them out to meet the enemy's palm blade. During the exchange of blows, Fei Sanli's palm blade changed from a chop to a press. He pulled his waist, thighs, and pulled out his left foot straight between his opponent's legs. Pa! His left leg tightened into a whip, tearing the air along the way, making Li Mao's hair stand on end. He suddenly turned his waist, the lower half of his body diagonally facing the enemy. Then he lifted his right leg and bent his knee for a short strike. This series of attacks caused him to be a little flustered and frightened. Fortunately, he did not lose his composure and was unable to respond in time. Bang! In the muffled sound, Li Mao borrowed strength and kicked his right foot down. He was about to lean forward and punch to counterattack with the momentum of brutal blizzard. However, when Fei Sanli saw that he could not succeed, he sensibly dodged and circled behind Li Mao, not giving him a chance to counterattack. Seeing this, Li Mao restrained his impetuous feeling and calmed down. He adjusted his position and countered the attacks as they came, but at the same time he did not forget to look for opportunities to create a situation suitable for himself. Pa pa pa. Bang bang bang. The two sometimes fought hand to hand, and sometimes separated. Fei Sanli was shrewd and sleek, firmly controlling the rhythm and not letting Li Mao use 24 blizzard strikes more than twice. They fought fiercely for several minutes, which made the students feel satisfied. From time to time, they blew their trumpets and banged their inflatable hammers, as if they were here to celebrate a festival. Li Mao thought that Fei Sanli had only played a few matches of professional ninth pin, and had only recovered for less than a week, so he did not rush to attack. He fought in a well-behaved manner, waiting for an opportunity to come. While they were fighting, he suddenly saw the bald man's knees soften and his sliding steps stagnate. Opportunity. Li Mao was refreshed. He took a big step forward, exerted strength under his feet, spread his right arm, and blasted a blast punch forward. Fei Sanli quickly lowered his center of gravity and raised his arms to block. Bang! Li Mao's right fist failed to break the opponent's stance and bounced back. But in his mind he had already visualized the scene of a blizzard. He slightly changed his posture, adjusted his muscles, and used the force to shake out his left arm. He stabbed at the enemy's throat like a big gun. Fei Sanli's eyes did not move, but his other hand clenched into a fist and punched back the blow. The brutal blizzard did not stop once it started. Li Mao took advantage of the situation and kicked with a whistling sound. But right at this moment, his thighs suddenly felt sore and weak. His strength paused, and he almost fell down. Fei Sanli smiled and leaned forward. He stretched out his right hand, opened his 5 fingers, and pinched Li Mao's neck. Humph! Who doesn't know that 24 blizzard strikes is a test of endurance? I let you hit so many times in order to exhaust your physical strength and push you to the limit step by step. In the end, he purposely showed a flaw, forcing you to use brutal blizzard again. And at this time, how many moves can you make in your current state? Hee, if you continue to fight steadily, I will have a flaw, and the winner will be uncertain. The referee raised his right hand and announced the result. Fei Sanli wins. Hearing this, Fei Sanli withdrew his right hand and looked at Li Mao with a smile. Boy, you are still too inexperienced. Although we are all juniors, I have been through hundreds of battles. Li Mao exhaled, feeling a little lost and sad, but more of self-examination and reflection. He did not feel the pain. In a martial arts competition, there was no such thing as only winning and not losing. And Fei Sanli was indeed better than him. He turned and walked to the stone steps, while the students in the stands cheered and encouraged him. Li Mao, come on. You fought well. They were very confident about the final result, and the temporary failure did not affect their mood at all. Hearing these cheers, Li Mao smiled and raised his hands to thank them, without any guilt or pressure. In the home team seats, Lu Qing looked at Yan Zhika and said with a smile, "It seems that I have to bully the weak." Yan Zhika rolled her eyes at him and hummed, "If you can't win in 3 moves, don't come back." She reached out and high-fived Lu Qing. 3 moves? You are too lenient to Qing, aren't you? Kai Zongming interrupted. I'll bet on 1 move. Bet on what? Lu Qing did not rush to the arena, but bumped fists with his team members one by one. Kai Zongming said without hesitation, Bet on my integrity. Don't you go easy on me. Forget it. What's the point of betting on something you don't have? Lu Qing tidied his sleeves and walked to the stone steps. Seeing him, the whole stadium suddenly became noisy. Yan Xiaoling standing in the aisle, Zhao Chong, Li Liantong and the others in their seats all raised their voices and shouted a name. Lu Qing. The sound was overwhelming, as if they were welcoming their hero. Lu Qing waved his hand and walked along the road to the stone steps. Mu Jinyan in the stands stamped his feet and complained that Coach Shi did not let Lin Ke go. Standing in front of Fei Sanli, Lu Qing looked calm and his eyes were clear. He smiled and said, Don't worry. I'll do my best. This was the respect for the fighter. Don't worry. I don't have King feel relieved at all. Please don't respect me. Fei Sanli took a deep breath and saw the referee raise his right hand again. He shouted, Start. He did not even bother to say which round it was. Anyway, it was the last round. Fei Sanli knew that he was exhausted and did not struggle. Anyway, it was not shameful to lose to Lu Qing. Even in his best condition, there was a huge gap between him and Lu Qing, let alone now. He abruptly took a few steps forward, swung his arm, and punched out powerfully. Lu Qing smiled. He opened his right hand and grasped Fei Sanli with his palm. When they touched, Lu Qing suddenly reversed his qi and blood and condensed them in his lower abdomen. Fei Sanli suddenly felt his fist sinking into nothingness. It was soft and powerless. Then he saw the enemy's arm bulging and felt a violent and majestic force surging toward him. It was as if he had encountered a real dragon that had ascended to the sky. Lu Qing's dantian qi gushed out. He swung his waist and back, shook his arm and threw Fei Sanli high into the air. Fei Sanli entered the state of cloud riding without resistance. He quickly adjusted his center of gravity and tried to stabilize his body. But he was surprised to find that he did not lose his balance at all. He just flew up. Bam! He landed firmly on the ground and saw the edge of the arena. He saw it from the outside. He was thrown out of the arena from the center position. He did not know how many meters he flew, but his center of gravity was stable, and he did not stagger. His ability to lift something heavy as if it were light was simply terrifying. Fei Sanli looked up in surprise and saw Lu Qing had put away his stance and was standing there leisurely. At this time, the referee announced the final result. Lu Qing wins. Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. The students were stunned by the scene just now. They had a feeling that it was unscientific. Only when they heard the referee's voice did they come back to their senses. They blew their small trumpets to create a lively atmosphere. When Lu Qing turned around and left the arena, they shouted in unison, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lin Ke, Lin Ke. Songqing University, Songqing University. Enjoying the atmosphere, Lu Qing returned to his seat and said to Yanzhika with a smile, "One move." Yanzhika snorted and turned her head with a smile. Then she looked at the arena and both sides. She suddenly thought of the next division and the final round in April next year. At this time, Xu Rui came over with her team to record the details of their celebration. Lin Ke, I rarely see you play with your phone. She glanced at the expressionless young man who was typing on the screen. Lin Ke looked at her and did not answer. He continued to type in the search box. What's the joke about the hunter and the bear? Chapter 312. After a round of greetings, the members of the martial arts club returned to the locker room joyfully. Xu Rui, leading the team, followed them in with a smile. Just do what you need to do. Just pretend that we don't exist. After applying, she got Geysersher's permission to enter the locker room for the next few matches and shoot some material to enrich the details of the documentary. Hearing her words, everyone looked at each other and secretly complained, "We are not exhibitionists. How can we act as usual in front of the camera?" Especially Lu Qing. He was even more depressed. Well, the good thing of applying ointment for my fairy is gone. He didn't want to take advantage of her. After all, there were many unfamiliar junior brothers and sisters in the locker room. It would be awkward to be too close to Yanzhika. He just wanted to treat it as a warm and sweet daily routine. However, a group of uninvited guests came, and he had to do his own thing. Yanzhika looked at him subconsciously and seemed to notice something. She rolled her eyes, bit her lips, turned her head and said in a low voice, "I'm in a good mood. Let's go for a walk tonight." Did Ka misunderstand something? Well, it's a good misunderstanding. A smile appeared on Lu Qing's face as he agreed. Okay. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The wind by the lake was cool. Yanzhika put on her boyfriend's coat and held his forearm. She walked slowly on the path with faint sounds of water. She raised her head slightly and said with excitement and longing, "Chung, what do you think we can do in this martial arts competition?" Her hair was slightly messy, her face was bright red, her pink lips were moist and glossy, and her eyes were bright and watery. Lu Qing put one hand in his pocket and felt refreshed. He thought for a while and said with a smile, "I'm only telling you. I won't tell anyone else. Otherwise, I'll be laughed at. My goal is to be the champion, the national champion." What a coincidence. Me too. Yanzhika replied with a smile and a look of surprise in her eyes. She raised her voice at the end. "I know Shanbei is very strong, Capital College is strong, Huahai and Guangnan are not weak either. In other people's eyes, they can firmly suppress us. But I still want to win and I think we have a chance to win." Lu Qing didn't hide his chest in front of his girlfriend. "That's right, next April. Who knows how much you and my brother will grow. But we can't be careless. It's said that Chu Hui of Sanjiang has become much stronger, and Shannon is not easy to deal with." The two of them walked along the lakeside and weaved their future together. They were in high spirits and seemed to have endless topics to talk about. As they approached the long bridge, they suddenly saw a familiar figure standing by the railing of the wooden platform. "Qing?" Yanzhika tried to call her with uncertainty. Qing turned around abruptly and wiped the corners of her eyes in a panic. She laughed dryly and said, "Kuching, what a coincidence. I thought I recognized the wrong person. Yenjika chuckled at first. Then she noticed that something was wrong with Qing and asked with concern. Qing, what's wrong? They were all crying. Guqing lowered her eyes and clenched her fists. I don't want to. I want to quit the special training. Lin Sanji was thinking if she should ask Cheng to leave first so that Qing wouldn't feel embarrassed to talk to her. You don't want to join the special training? Why? Yenjika blurted out. Lu Cheng was also surprised. Why did Guqing suddenly want to quit the special training? Guqing took a deep breath and forced a smile. I'm in my second year. I'm so nervous about my classes. I'm afraid that my grades will drop again. I think I should focus on my studies. Yenjika seemed to have sensed something. Instead of persuading her directly, she kept silent and considered her words. At this moment, Guqing walked a few steps impatiently. Like a tight string that had finally reached its limit, she suddenly broke down and said, Kuai, I feel so useless. I'm so stressed. I've been practicing visualization for more than a year, but I still can't enter meditation. I'm so sad to see you guys surpass me one by one, running faster and farther away. I've cried several times. The junior brothers and sisters behind me are also stronger than me. I can't even be a substitute now. I'm almost out of the list. The boy I'm chasing doesn't like me. My grades are dropping so badly that I've been criticized by the counselor. I'm such a failure. I'm so useless. Listening to her hysterical outburst, Lu Qing felt like he had never known her before. He didn't expect this straightforward, outgoing, silly sister to have accumulated so many negative emotions and bear so much pressure. He turned to look at Yenjika and saw the same expression on the girl's face. She was shocked, pitiful and shocked. When they were chatting, Qing was always the one who showed off, making others unable to feel her pain and sadness. Who knew that she had such a weak, helpless and desperate side? In the locker room this afternoon, she seemed to be very sad. Qing, relax a little. You are like this because you put too much pressure on yourself. Well, if you want to withdraw from the special training, then withdraw temporarily. When the time comes, relax and forget about the pressure. Maybe you will succeed one day. We will always welcome you back. You will always be a member of our martial arts club. Yenjika bit her lower lip and said in a soft voice. She comforted her in a way that didn't irritate her, and made some suggestions. Guqing wiped her face with tears in her eyes and said with a bitter smile, Ku, you don't need to comfort me. I've vented and I feel much better. I finally understand that people are different. Maybe I'm not talented enough to walk this path. Anyway, I'm in my third year of the amateur career now, so I have more assurance in finding a job. I'll still come to the martial arts class twice a week, but I have to pay more attention to my studies. She sniffed and continued. I won't be in the special training team anymore, but I'll cheer for you in the stands. I'll be proud of your grades. Guqing became more and more confused. Finally, she stopped talking and pointed to the bridge. I'll go back first. If I didn't have hope, I wouldn't be so sad now. If I'd been like Sister Xiaowen and the others from the beginning, and just wanted to get the amateur certificate, I'd definitely stay in the special training team. Kucheng, everyone, I'm sorry, I'm a deserter. Lu Cheng and Yenjika had no experience in this kind of situation, so they didn't know how to persuade her. They could only watch Guqing leave in a hurry. Lu Cheng turned his head to look at Yenjika with mixed feelings. He found that Yenjika also looked gloomy. She had been pursing her lips and was very depressed. He hugged the girl and comforted her. Don't be sad. Didn't you say that there are two kinds of friends? One is the kind that you can be friends with for a lifetime, and the other is the crossing line. After a certain period of time, you'll gradually drift apart. Like other people in Guqing's dormitory, he still chatted with Chang, Old Chiu, and model worker from time to time, but he was completely unfamiliar with their faces. Although this was the first and possibly the last dormitory in his college career, Yenjika buried her face in his shoulder and hit him lightly. She said in a muffled voice, "Don't talk. I know the reason, but I still can't help but feel depressed and sad." Lu Qing stroked her back gently and looked at Guqing, who was getting farther and farther away. Suddenly, a song came to his mind. Although it was not so suitable, it was still a little appropriate. There are thousands of doors, but there is always one who has to go first. Alas, for this rare reunion. We must leave the best and most profound memories. We must win the championship of the National University Martial Arts Competition once. Guoqing's withdrawal surprised and shocked Li Mao, Sun Jian and the others. The depression lingered in the special training team for a long time. But after a week, when the second round of the knockout competition was over, everyone had almost forgotten about it when they enjoyed the victory and ridiculed Kai Zhongming's performance. They no longer mentioned Guoqing. This was cruel, but this was the reality. Everyone adjusted their mood and moved forward. They easily passed the third round of the knockout competition and entered their group. The first game was an away game against the seeded team of their group, Shannon University Martial Arts Club. On Saturday morning, the high-speed train drove out of the station. Lu Cheng and the others sat separately, either looking out of the window at the fast-passing scenery, or whispering about their opponents. The first strong opponent of this competition was coming. Chapter 313. Mu Yu, top professional ninth pin. He's good at ancient Xingyi martial arts such as dragon, tiger, leopard, bear, eagle, and modern martial arts such as cannon fist and spear finger, but he hasn't mastered tremor force yet. He has the supernatural ability of misfortune, and is known as Bane. He can cause bad luck to a specific person within 20 meters. The backlash will be random friends and family. He looks so old that it's almost premature. His nickname is Old Man Mu. Lin Xiaoji, female, top professional ninth pin. She's quite talented in martial arts, and is expected to enter the dance stage before graduation. She was taught by Mu Yu and is good at martial arts similar to his. Her catchphrase is "I used to believe in science." She has amulets and defensive spells from various martial arts sects, but she's still the one with the highest probability. Jean Dali, strong professional ninth pin. He just got his certificate in October. His martial arts are of the same origin as Mu Yu and Lin Xiaoji. His fighting style is relatively aggressive and he likes to court death. His family is in engineering and he likes to race. He often rides a heavy motorcycle to school. He's easygoing and a little hyperactive. While the bullet train was speeding, the information of the leading fighters of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He and Yan Zhike often discussed these things so that they wouldn't be defeated by Shanbei in the quarterfinals. At this moment his phone vibrated with a message. Lu Cheng picked it up, and found it was a message from Mo Jingting, his martial niece. Oh, ! Oh, young martial uncle, I'm going to hold a concert in Songqing next week. As the host and elder, why don't you entertain me? I've also prepared some VIP tickets for you. You can give them to your friends. Acting cute on purpose. Lu Cheng complained and directly handed the phone to Yan Zhike, who was leaning against him. I used to want to buy tickets and go to her concert with you, but now I feel like I've been disillusioned. Going to a concert was one of the options for dating. Yan Zhike was not in good spirits and her lips were a little pale. She took the phone and smiled. Why don't you go? Let's go together. Ah. Lu Cheng didn't expect Ke to have such an attitude and didn't know how to react. What kind of script is this? It's better to face this kind of thing openly. After all, she's your martial niece. It's impossible that you won't interact with her forever. Let's go entertain her together. After listening to the concert, she'll know what to do. Yan Zhike tilted her head and glanced at Lu Cheng with a smile. She knows that her current attitude will only annoy you, right? Yes. Coach Yan is right. He thought for a moment and added, I'm just worried that she'll find out about your background and spread the news to Shushan study and your grandpa and grandma. Yan Zhike rolled her eyes and said, if she had found out about it in private, she might have spread the news. But if we meet her openly, she won't say anything. Her purpose is to please you, not to offend you. Unless she really likes you. Being glanced at by her with a smile that was not a smile, Lu Cheng hurriedly said, how is that possible? Someone like her who works in the entertainment industry has long since stopped liking such things. He took the phone and replied to the message. If you have time to go out of school, my girlfriend and I would like to invite you to try out the specialty of Songqing. A few minutes later, Mo Jingting sent a message. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Tell her for me. How should I call her? Anyway, say thank you. Yenjika leaned on Lu Cheng's shoulder and read the message with a smile. She raised her chin slightly and said, "See, isn't the tone a little different?" "No more emojis." Lu Cheng nodded and then asked in a low voice, "Does your stomach feel better?" Yenjika was in the middle of her period and couldn't fight in this match. She was a little disappointed, but Lu Cheng was happy to see it. If she fought with Mu Yu, who knew what strange things would happen? There was once a male fighter whose crotch tore itself when fighting with him. A gentleman should be magnanimous. Damn it, please don't do anything bad, or it will be a black mark for the rest of my life. Lu Cheng thought with fear. Much better. I felt better before we left. Your ginger tea is very comfortable. Yenjika played with her boyfriend's fingers and looked at the desolate early winter scenery outside. When it was almost noon, the high-speed train arrived at the station. The members of the martial arts club gathered in front of the gate. This time, they didn't have a car to pick them up like in the preliminaries. They had to take separate taxis. Is there anyone with a bad sense of direction? As the club president, Kai Zongming asked carefully. Me. Heezy raised her hand, Li Xiaowen raised his hand. Yin Xiaoling and Mu Jingyan, who came as fans of the team, also raised their hands. Kai Zongming's mouth twitched. Why are you a roomful of bad sense of direction? Birds of a feather flock together. Yin Xiaoling answered seriously and proudly. Then you have to split up and let others take you. Don't lose yourselves. Kai Zongming said with a smile. Yenjika leaned over and whispered in Lu Cheng's ear. Actually, I'm a bit of a bad sense of direction too. I really don't see it. Lu Cheng was surprised. Anyway, we have mobile navigation now. I just can't tell north from south. Yenjika pursed her lips. And I have a human navigation device. I always thought that people who are good at science wouldn't be bad at sense of direction. Lu Cheng sighed with a smile. I think so too. Yenjika said with a sad and angry face. But there are always exceptions. When Xu Rui and the shooting team arrived, they found some food in the high-speed railway station, and then divided into groups to take taxis to the old campus of Shannon University. Little Ming was a clever boy. He let Lu Cheng and Yenjika form a group without anyone else. In his words, he had to take care of other people's eyes and ears. In the afternoon, the road was not congested and the taxi drove smoothly. The driver looked at him in the mirror and smiled. Hey, are you also a student of Southern University? Me. Lu Cheng held Yenjika's finger with one hand and pointed at himself with the other. Yeah. You look like a student. Are you picking up your girlfriend at the high-speed railway station? The driver changed the topic. Why do you think so? Why can't she pick me up at the high-speed railway station because she is a student of Southern University? Lu Cheng argued with a smile. The driver laughed. In this world, only men pick up women. No woman picks up men. That's not necessarily true. Lu Cheng looked at Yenjika with a smile. Will you pick me up? Yenjika looked at him and snorted. Depends on my mood. The driver seemed to have confirmed Lu Cheng's identity. He immediately nagged. My daughter is also a student of Southern University in the School of Macromolecule. Well, there aren't many girls majoring in macromolecule. Lu Cheng said casually. That can't be helped. No one in my family knows about it. The driver answered carelessly. She was supposed to go home last night. She said that there was a martial arts competition today, and she had to cheer for the team. What's the point of a girl watching this kind of fighting? It's okay. It's good for her health and self-protection. Lu Cheng said perfunctorily. The Martial Arts Club of Southern University is very strong. We often hear that old man Mu can beat 10 people by himself. The driver didn't care about Lu Cheng's opinion, and continued with a smile. Mu Yu. He has a supernatural ability, and is known as the Bane. Lu Cheng added with interest when hearing about martial arts. Yenjika also listened with great interest. Yes. The driver was more convinced of Lu Cheng's identity. You also like martial arts competitions? After chatting for a while, Lu Cheng and Yenjika had a good impression of the martial arts atmosphere of Shannon University. The driver almost introduced his daughter to them. At the north gate of the university, the martial arts club gathered. They walked through the road with dozens of hundreds of old trees, and arrived at the stadium. There was still more than an hour before the competition started. There were only a dozen students doing exercises in the stadium. Fortunately, the receptionist of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University had already talked to Li Xiaowen. He waited by the door and led them into the visiting team locker room. At the door of the strength training gym, a tall figure looked at the scene and sighed. Songqing University is early. She had a high ponytail and looked clean and fresh. However, she was wearing gaudy clothes such as Buddhist beads, Taoist symbols, crosses, Arabic, and so on. She was Lin Xiaoji, one of the leading members of the Martial Arts Club of Shannon University. She was a little unsettled because of the upcoming battle, so she decided to come to the Martial Arts Club in advance to do some warming up. Lin Xiaoji walked to the locker room of the home team with the key in her hand. She turned the key and found the door was already open. She pushed the door open and saw old man Mu Yu, who looked like a man in his 40s or 50s. His hair was sparse. "Captain, you're early too?" Lin Xiaoji blurted out in surprise. Mu Yu lowered his hands and leaned forward. He sighed and said, "I'm a little nervous, just like last time when we were fighting against Shan Bei." Double dance stage, one at 7 and one at 8. It was almost the same as last year's Shan Bei. As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the locker room was pushed open again. Jean Dolly walked in with a hippie hairstyle. He was startled and said, "Damn, there's someone even earlier than me. Why are you all here?" "We're just worried about this match. If we lose, we'll probably face Shan Bei in the quarterfinals." Lin Xiaoji didn't hide her emotions, but she quickly adjusted and smiled again. "But we still have a chance. First, they might be careless and only send one of them, Lin Ke or Lu Cheng." "Impossible. This is a crucial match," Mu Yu denied. "Second, they're still training their substitutes. The first one to fight will definitely not be Lu Cheng or Lin Quebec. And they're probably worried about your supernatural ability, so they'll send Lu Cheng, who has insane stamina, to hold the line. In this way, as long as Xiao Jin and I can finish off their first fighter quickly, we can take turns to fight Lin Quebec. Although we're not as good as him and Lu Cheng in the first half of the year, we can still consume a lot of his stamina, which is his weakness." Lin Xiaoji spoke with assurance. "At that time, when facing him who's close to his limit, your supernatural ability will be very effective. You won't consume too much of your stamina, so there's hope for you to fight Lu Cheng. I used to believe in science, but now I believe in metaphysics even more." She ended with a witty remark. "But the substitutes of Songqing University have all grown up. It won't be easy to finish them off quickly." Mu Yu sighed again. Lin Xiaoji smiled and said, "That's good. I haven't had a chance to use the new thing I've learned. Besides, the outside world thinks Songqing University will win. They think we can't win. This will make them proud and arrogant." Speaking of this, she looked at Mu Yu and then at Jean Dolly. Suddenly, her expression became solemn. "Besides, there's a saying that goes, an army with grief will always win." Chapter 3:14. When the match was about to start, Gieserscher clapped his hands in the visiting team's locker room to wake up the members who were resting with their eyes closed. "It's almost time. Get up and get ready. When we play Shan Bei, we have to extort some money from the stingy school. We have to go there one day earlier. We can't be so tired again." The martial arts club still had some funds left, but it was rare to ask for money openly. Gieserscher certainly didn't want to miss this opportunity, especially since he could stimulate the principal and find an excuse to drink with him. Starting from the group stage, Songqing, which didn't perform well last year, would play away games all the time, even if it was the first versus the second in the quarterfinals. This made Li Liantong, Zhong Yanru and other students feel very regretful because they couldn't witness the victory in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club and cheer for them together. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika were full of motivation when they chatted in secret. They wanted to fight for more home games next year. "Coach Sure, I'm afraid the school will give us money to stay in the guest house." Kai Zoming moved his body and talked nonsense. "How dare they?" Gieserscher scolded with a smile. "Are they trying to dismiss a beggar? Either they don't give us money, or they should be more straightforward." Speaking of this, Li Xiaowen opened the door and smiled gently. "Coach Sure, the supervisor is asking for the match list." Isn't it simple? Geezer sure looked around at Lu Cheng and the others. We can't fail at such an easy task, right? Lu Cheng and Lin Ke will play together today. Hearing this, Lu Cheng couldn't help but look at Lin Ke, only to see his brother-in-law was also looking at him. When their eyes met, they felt the eagerness of each other. This was the first time that the two leading members of the martial arts club would play together this semester. Lu Cheng and Yin Zhika looked at each other and smiled. They had a tacit understanding. They had been sure of this for a long time. Li Mao, Lin Hua and the other members were relieved and became more certain. They were afraid that Coach Sher would be so capricious that he had to train the substitutes at this time, and only send one leading member. But Geezer Sher suddenly changed the topic. Shannon is not that great of an opponent. We still need to accumulate actual combat experience as much as possible. In this case, Brat, you'll be the last. Otherwise, it'll be boring for others to just watch. His words made the crowd burst into laughter. They were all deeply impressed by Lu Cheng's abnormal physical strength. Yes, master. Lu Cheng smiled and answered in a light tone. Now that he had formally become Geezer Sher's disciple, he could openly call him Geezer Sher. As for the other one, we'll follow the principle of taking turns to fight. Sun Jian, you'll take the lead. Without hesitation, Shi Jiangwo casually chose the most senior member of the martial arts club. With Lin Ke and Lu Cheng behind him, Sun Jian had no qualms about being the vanguard. This time, I'm not afraid of not having a chance to go on stage. Puff. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh as he turned his head. This was the joke everyone used to make fun of senior brother Sun Jian during the preliminaries in the first half of the year. He actually still remembered it. Yin Zhika also covered her mouth and giggled. She winked at her boyfriend, hinting that this was all his fault. She was in high spirits because even if she was in good condition, it seemed that she would not have the chance to compete today. Beside them, Li Xiaowen quickly recorded the list and order of the main force. Sun Jian, Lin Ke, Lu Cheng. When the laughter stopped, Geezer Sher waved his hand carelessly. The substitutes will follow the old rules. Li Mao, Kai Zhongming, Lin Hua. After the announcement, he looked at He Zi and Wang Dali. You may not have a chance to fight in the next 2 semesters. Just follow the others and broaden your horizons. Put more energy into the individual ranking event. Yes, Coach Sher. The 2 freshmen were still interested in the novelty and had a sense of honor, so they answered with vigor. Of course, He Zi's current interest was in her identity as a frontline cat reporter. After the main force and the substitutes were confirmed, Li Xiaowen turned around and walked out to submit the list. As the door of the locker room opened and closed, Lu Cheng saw that it was full of students outside, with only a few empty seats. The martial arts atmosphere in Shannon is really good. He praised in his heart, thinking of the taxi driver's daughter. She was definitely among the thousands of students, unremarkable and ordinary. However, it was precisely because of the accumulation of these unremarkable and ordinary spectators that he was able to create an atmosphere that moved him and made martial artists hot-blooded. Let's go. After waiting for a while, Geezer Sher waved his hand and coughed twice. With a creak, the door opened. The picture of Shannon University's martial arts arena was reflected in the eyes of Lu Cheng, Yin Zhika, and the others. They raised huge banners with their common thoughts written on them. Together through thick and thin. Win or lose, we'll stand together through thick and thin. Just as the people of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walked out, one of the stands suddenly erupted with tsunami-like shouts. Shannon University. The other side of the stands immediately responded. Never admit defeat. The sound waves were deafening and the momentum was astonishing. In such an environment, martial artists with a slightly weaker mentality would have their will shaken, and it would be difficult for them to exert their full strength. Unfortunately, most of the members of the martial arts club were old foxes. They had seen Yimo's hellish home ground, so they were not frightened by this kind of friendly demonstration. After a wave of shouts, the referee stepped into the ring, and the broadcast announced the first match in real time. Sun Jian of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Shannon University Martial Arts Club. The announcer paused for a moment to give the audience time to react. Then he shouted at the top of his voice, Lin Xiaoji. Lin Xiaoji. The students responded with the greatest enthusiasm and excitement. This made them look like they had the upper hand, and not the home team that everyone thought had little hope of winning. Lin Xiaoji. Lu Qing murmured thoughtfully. In his and Ke's opinion, apart from supernatural ability, Lin Xiaoji was probably stronger than Mu Yu in terms of martial arts. There was a great chance that she would enter the dance stage next year. I always feel that senior brother-son's luck is not very good. Yan Zhika whispered in his ear, pursing her lips and laughing. You can't say that. Seeing the full power of a top professional ninth pin will be very helpful for him to get the professional certificate. Lu Qing said seriously and then joked. At least he didn't meet Mu Yu directly, right? Sun Jian didn't hear their discussion. He bumped his fists one by one and strode to the arena with his head held high. Standing on the right side of the referee, he saw Lin Xiaoji stopping in front of the stone steps. She took off the Buddhist prayer beads, small crosses, and Taoist amulets one by one and handed them to the match supervisor. She really lives up to her reputation. Sun Jian exclaimed. Then he opened his eyes wide, because Lin Xiaoji wasn't done yet. She took out a tantric dharma bell from her pocket, rolled up her trousers, untied the red string with strange characters written on it, and took out a lucky star from her hair. Damn, how many things did she hide? Is this necessary? Is she a metaphysical martial artist? Sun Jian thought, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. After a while, Lin Xiaoji finally finished. Before entering the arena, she specifically reminded the match supervisor, Senior, don't lose it. I have a feeling that our captain is going to make a big move tonight. I don't want to be an unlucky kid. After nagging, she finally came to Sun Jian and apologized with a sincere smile. The corner of the referee's mouth twitched, and he announced the start of the conversation. Let me ask you, do these things work? Sun Jian couldn't hide his curiosity and asked. He didn't want to provoke her with words. He had to maintain his composure in front of a girl. Lin Xiaoji nodded sincerely. They work. I tested it with my flesh. When I wasn't wearing these, my captain's counterattack would randomly hit me 7 or 8 times out of 10. Now it's only 4 times out of 10. I used to believe in science, but now I really believe in this. Why do I hear an unbearable past? Sun Jian looked at the other party sympathetically and pondered for a moment before saying. Lin Xiaoji opened her mouth as if she wanted to talk about her past sufferings, but in the end, she only said, sigh. Sun Jian didn't say anything more to avoid being affected by bad luck. Lin Xiaoji seized the time to get used to the situation without the amulets. In the quiet atmosphere, the referee raised his right hand and started the focus of the match. Begin. Lin Xiaoji arched her back, and the muscles on the soles of her feet stretched and bounced. She shot out like a beautiful and dangerous cheetah. She was so fast that Sun Jian couldn't react in time. However, Sun Jian didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward. Most of the audience was stunned. He rushed toward his terrifying opponent, as if he wanted to fight head-on. Seeing that they were about to meet, he stomped on the ground with his right foot, and used a strange technique to change the direction of his body like a catapult. He strangely circled to Lin Xiaoji's side. Catapult body movement of modern Xingyi. Bam! Sun Jian straightened his knees and waist, swung his shoulders and arms, and hit the best forward punch in a while. He tried his best to gain the upper hand, and didn't give his strong opponent a chance to catch her breath. Lin Xiaoji suddenly bounced her spine and forcibly changed her center of gravity. She changed her position and stabilized her body. She shook her left arm and swung it in the opposite direction. It was heavy and powerful. Bam! With a loud bang, Sun Jian took a step back and removed part of the force. He borrowed part of the force and jumped forward. Half-step crushing punch. Brutal blizzard came with a roar. Facing this, Lin Xiaoji didn't change her expression. She suddenly took a deep breath. Her face turned red, and her temples bulged. Then she swung her body and hit the powerful modern blast punch. Bam! Her fist trembled and swayed in the air as if it was affected by the wind. Bam! Their fists hit each other with a roar. Sun Jian's vision blurred, and he felt a strong shockwave sweep over his whole body. His qi and blood were rolling, his internal organs were uncomfortable, his muscles, tendons, and bones were trembling, and he couldn't exert force. Bam! Lin Xiaoji seized the opportunity and stepped forward. Her eagle claw reached out and stopped in front of Sun Jian's throat. Round 1, Lin Xiaoji wins. The referee announced loudly. Tremor punch. Yenjika straightened her back and muttered to herself. She subconsciously glanced at her boyfriend beside her. Lu Qing nodded to her, indicating that it was true. Lin Xiaoji's modern blast punch had developed the tremor force. This was something new that she hadn't shown before. While Li Mao and the others were still in shock, Lin Ke stood up with an expressionless face and tore off his overcoat. Chapter 315. Lin Xiaoji. Lin Xiaoji. The entire audience was silent at first. The sound of the trumpets could be heard sporadically. Then they burst into cheers and shouts. The cheers shook the heavens. They were sure that Lin Xiaoji could beat Sun Jian, but they didn't expect her to win so quickly and so easily. It was like she was bullying a noob, and she seemed to have learned something new. This was really a morale-boosting battle. In the seats of the home team, Jean Dolly and several substitutes stood up and waved their towels excitedly. Damn, why is it me again? Why is it always my turn to be this good thing? In the arena, Sun Jian shook his head to stop the dizziness, withdrew his qi and blood, and tried to find joy in the bitterness. Fortunately, I have a good mentality. He didn't waste any time, turned around, and walked quickly to the stone steps. He met Lin Ke halfway, who was full of fighting spirit. She has learned tremor force. Sun Jian stretched out his fist and reminded him in a low voice. Lin Ke nodded indifferently, and bumped his fist with Sun Jian when they passed each other. Looking at him approaching step by step, Lin Xiaoji hurriedly exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi. She visualized the scene of clouds and wind blowing to calm herself down. In this battle with Lin Ke, she only had one strategy and one purpose, and that was to wear him out. Wearing him out a few times of dance stage outbursts would be a victory. The longer she wore him out, the greater the victory. She didn't expect to defeat an 8th pin dance stage fighter who had mastered force. Back then, Lin Ke and Lu Qing were so fierce that they could only barely defeat Wei Xingtian, who was nothing special, by taking turns to fight him. Lin Ke appeared very quiet and reserved in the midst of the sound waves that reverberated throughout the stadium. However, when he stood in the predetermined position, Lin Xiaoji suddenly felt as if there was a huge mountain or a huge river in front of her. She felt as if she was looking up at a huge mountain or a huge river. Is this the suppression of the dance stage? She took a deep breath and tried to get rid of her current state. Chung, how many moves do you think Lin Ke will take to win? Kai Zongming couldn't help but ask. Lu Qing rolled his eyes at him and said, Anyway, you have no moral integrity to bet. How many moves Lu Qing would take to win depended on his strategy, and how much strength he would reserve for the next round or even the next one. I have a feeling that he will try to end the battle quickly. He will most likely finish it in 3 to 5 moves. Kai Zongming didn't mind his bad friend's attitude at all. He just laughed to himself and said, Don't you think that the martial arts that those people from Southern University are good at fits a sentence? The eyes of an eagle, the speed of a leopard, and the strength of a bear. After he finished speaking, he found that Lu Qing looked confused. Obviously, he didn't get the joke. You haven't seen that cartoon? Kai Zongming sneered. Lu Qing turned his head to look at Yenjika, only to see that she was also at a loss. She shook her head blankly, indicating that she didn't know what the joke was either. Maybe it's an old anime. She looked up and made a judgment. Understood. Lu Qing nodded solemnly and turned to reply to Kai Zongming. Uncle, I'm sorry. We're too young to watch such an old anime. F***ck. Little Ming almost choked on his words. Their relaxed attitude affected Li Mao, Wang Dali and the others. They recovered from the shock of Lin Xiaoji's tremor force. That's right. What's so great about tremor energy? Both of our leading members of the martial arts club know how to use it. At this moment, the referee waved his right hand, and his voice suppressed the rolling waves. Second round, start. The word start was still echoing. Lin Ke suddenly withdrew and expanded his qi, and directly broke out the dance stage. Bang! The place where he stood seemed to explode, and countless fragments flew out. He grew taller and fiercely pounced on Lin Xiaoji. With just one pounce, the several meters between them disappeared. Lin Xiaoji was just thinking about it when she saw a figure like a meteor falling from the sky, like a god descending on earth, rushing at her with the momentum of Mount Tai. So fast, so fierce, so direct. In a split second, she didn't panic and calmly made a judgment. She swung her center of gravity backward, swung her waist and back, and nimbly and quickly retreated a few steps. These few steps were in both form and spirit, like a tall antelope. Her footing was very stable, and her body didn't sway, mixed with some of the heaviness of elephant form. Seeing that she was about to pull away and get out of the predicament just now, Lin Ke suddenly stopped, gathered his chi, and used all his strength to step forward and plow. Boom! The ground under Lin Xiaoji's feet cracked, as if there was a burst of power, lifting her left leg and making her lose her center of gravity. The 16th move of the fighting sect, earth cracking. This. Lin Xiaoji was a little shocked and a little flustered. Her spine moved up and down, and she tried to forcibly stabilize her body. Lin Ke seized the opportunity and rushed in front of her. He visualized the scene of a meteor crossing the sky, bulging his temples, and quickly swinging his right arm in a small range, and blasted out a punch like lightning. Lin Xiaoji hurriedly parried and barely used the blast punch, shaking a little bit to meet the attack. Bang! She only felt that she was smashed by a meteor in front of her, and was directly hit by the blast wave that turned into wind and waves. Her chi and blood were tumbling, making her want to vomit, and her 5 viscera and 6 bowels were moving out of their positions in horror. A sound came from her abdomen, like a low and continuous explosion. Lin Ke's right hand moved back, and the left side of his body leaned forward. He quickly swung his arm again, outlining the visualization scene, and blasted out a punch. Lin Xiaoji had just used the internal training method to relieve the shock, and now she had to face the continuous attack. She put her hands on her lower abdomen, clenched her palms, opened her 5 fingers, and used the eagle claw to fight against the meteor force. Bang! Her mind was buzzing, and her muscles and tendons were trembling. She was stunned for a moment, and her 5 fingers were unable to hold Lin Ke's fist. It directly pressed against her abdomen and stopped there. The referee stood up straight and announced loudly, "The second round, Lin Ke wins." In the blink of an eye, the winner had been decided. The students of Southern University either opened their eyes wide, covered their mouths, or were stunned. The noise in the stadium suddenly disappeared. Just like before, they knew that Lin Xiaoji couldn't beat Lin Ke, and would most likely lose. But they didn't expect that she would lose so easily and without any resistance. The top professional 9th pin fighter, who defeated Sun Jian, so quickly seemed to have lost her kung fu in an instant. Lin Xiaoji forced herself to do the internal training method to recover. She resisted the urge to vomit, looked at Lin Ke in horror, turned around and walked out of the arena, still thinking about the scene just now. I lost? I lost just like that. She thought that she was comparable to Lu Cheng when he fought Wei Shengtian, and could barely resist Lin Ke's double explosion. She expected to exhaust him about 3 force concentrations, and complete more exchanges to lay the best foundation for Jean Dali later. But who knew that she couldn't even hold on for a minute? Is this the strength of a talented dance stage fighter? Is this the strength of absolute strength? She had just walked down the stone steps when she saw the hippie-looking Jean Dali in front of her. She quickly gathered her energy and said, "Xiao Jin, he used double explosion. It must be a big burden for him. Fight well and exhaust him to the limit." Okay. Jean Dali put away his usual cynicism and rushed to the arena in order to seize the time. Lin Xiaoji closed her eyes and retched. She walked back to the home team seats with trembling legs. If Xiao Jin exhausts Lin Ke and allows the team leader to fight Lu Cheng in his best condition, we have at least a 50% chance of winning. Team leader? Suddenly, fear appeared in her eyes. Regardless of her body condition, she ran and jumped back to the arena. She spread her hands to the match supervisor and said with a shy smile, "Senior, my things. Don't believe these things. It's useless." The match supervisor was an old senior. He kindly reminded her. Lin Xiaoji blinked and said with a sad and angry smile, "Senior, you don't understand." In the away team seats, Kai Zoming looked around complacently. "I told you, Lin Ke needs to finish quickly. 3 to 5 moves. Lu Cheng, Yenjika, and the others didn't respond to him. They just whispered to each other, feeling happy and relaxed. Lin Kei's performance is strong enough. We can rest assured. At this time, the students in the stands slowly recovered and regained their morale. They shouted Jean Dali's name and cheered for him. Hearing the waves of encouragement, Jean Dali's body trembled slightly. He was in the most excited state. He seized the last bit of time he had and quickly reconsidered his strategy. Lin Kei had insta-killed Sister Xiaoji with a double explosion and a miraculous move, so he must have taken quite a toll on himself. In this round, he would most likely play it safe and try to take me down without paying too much of a price, so that he could exhaust Captain even more. In this case, just as he was thinking about this, the referee looked at Lin Kei, who was breathing quickly, and raised his right hand without showing any favoritism. Round 3 start. Jean Dali immediately calmed down, and was about to use the crane steps and the tiger form to attack first, followed by the eagle claw and the crocodile bite. Suddenly, he saw Lin Kei hugging and exploding, spewing out Dan Qi again. Is he here again? Isn't he holding back a little? Lin Kei transformed into a heavy truck and flew to Jean Dali in 2 steps. He arrived almost at the same time as the wind, as if he was preparing for some terrifying follow-up. Jean Dali had plenty of battle experience. He was quick-witted and didn't retreat like an antelope with horns hanging on its head. Instead, he suddenly stretched his body and stood up like a giant bear. He expanded his muscles and turned sideways. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and crashed into Lin Quebec bear form. Giant bear hits the tree. Bam! Jean Dali, who had turned into a giant bear, was sent flying. He staggered and hurriedly tried to regain his balance. Lin Kei didn't manage to execute his follow-up moves. Suddenly, his eyes sharpened and he made another force concentration, without holding back. Bam! His cannon was fired and he was in front of Jean Dali in an instant. Then he stomped his feet and braked forcefully. Amidst the violent friction, he swung his right arm, leaving afterimages behind. Fighting Sect, 27th move, Meteor Burst. Boom! Jean Dali, who had just regained his balance, felt a bomb explode in front of him. A violent shockwave came roaring, almost enough to blow him away and tear his flesh. He didn't have time to think. He took advantage of the momentum and rolled to the ground to avoid the blast. Lin Kei had made the second double explosion. He must be under a lot of pressure, and needs to take a break. I'll have a chance to do a carp flip. At this moment, Lin Kei retracted his chi and blood, force, and spirit with a deep look in his eyes. Triple explosion. Triple explosion. His eyes lit up and he blurted out. Bam! With the eruption of his Dan Qi, Lin Kei slid forward, leaving a shocking trail on the ground. He rushed to Jean Dali's side before Jean Dali could jump up. He kicked out his right foot and stopped near Jean Dali's temple. Round 3, Lin Kei wins. The referee's voice made the whole arena silent. Muyu stood up, took a deep breath, and untied a strange Taoist amulet from his neck. Chapter 316. Round 3, Lin Kei wins. The referee's voice reverberated in every corner of the Shannon University martial arts arena, rolling into the ears of every student. Their reinvigorated morale suddenly collapsed, and their mouths were wide open in shock. Isn't this too awesome? Isn't Lin Kei too awesome? The 2 leading members of the martial arts club together couldn't even last a minute against him. Everyone was stunned by Lin Kei's unstoppable momentum. They subconsciously turned their eyes to the last pillar of support, the coach and leader of the martial arts club of their school, the Bane Muyu. In such an atmosphere, a clear girl's voice suddenly rang out. She was shouting madly, Lin Kei! Lin Kei! In the silence, Mu Jinyan, who was waving her hands excitedly, was so outstanding that she attracted the attention of the surrounding people, as if she had become a public enemy. This scared Yan Xiaoling, who was next to her, and once again turned into a quail. She trembled and pulled her. Jin, calm down. Calm down. I'm also very happy and excited that Lin Kei won, but here are all their people. Yan Xiaoling silently counted the strength of the 2 sides. Including herself, there were only 6 people in the martial arts club, but there were more than 6,000 Shannon University supporters in the arena. Just a spit from each of them could drown me. I'm definitely not mocking myself for being short. After being pulled by Yan Xiaoling a few times, Mu Jinyan calms down a little and stops shouting. However, looking at Mu Jinyan's flushed face, bright eyes and eager posture, Yan Xiaoling is full of worry. She says in the live broadcast post of the forum, "Thousands of people around are from Shannon University, and the girl next to me is very excited and wants to provoke them. What should I do? I'm waiting online, it's urgent." Haha, pretend you don't know her and shout, "Old Mu, I love you." It's not difficult for you to do that, considering your immoral nature. Unparalleled Dragon King laughed out loud. Brahmin urged, "Call them daddy one by one. Hook your finger at them and shout, 'Come on, if you dare, come and beat me.' Then the girl next to you will be safe." Okamoto's fan said with a sly smile. "Pretend you're a quail." A frontline cat reporter, Nyechichi, also knew the story of a quail. "How about I send you a fake hat? Then they won't recognize you." Naive said vengefully. Because of his thin hair, Yan Xiaoling gave him several nicknames such as Baldy and Big. Yan Xiaoling looked up and looked away from the phone screen, and murmured, "These unlucky kids." In the guest team seats, Sun Jian was the first to jump up and cheer. Lin Ke was not careless at all. And he. What kind? Calm. And. Come. His physical strength improved a lot. He had seriously thought about how to help his brother-in-law improve his physical strength, and had even asked his master for help. But Geezer sure had dismissed him with one sentence. "Lin Ke has his elders. I don't want to make trouble for him. Look at my expression." Yenjika turned her head and stared at her boyfriend coquettishly. "You don't know either?" Lu Cheng understood her meaning. "If I knew, I wouldn't have been so excited and surprised." Yenjika raised her voice at the end of the sentence, and then she scolded him with her mouth. "Stupid Cheng." She was in a very good mood. She looked around and felt proud. "Well, your brother is the kind of person who makes big news without saying anything." Lu Cheng made fun of his brother-in-law. Yenjika rolled her eyes at him, and didn't say anything bad about her cousin. She relaxed her body and stretched her posture. "I only know that my grandpa and grandma gave him several sets of kung fu to strengthen his physical strength, but it is said that the effect is not very good. Maybe my cousin practiced all of them, and that's why he has improved so much." At this point, the two of them tacitly looked at the ring at the same time. They saw Lin Ke standing in the same place, taking the opportunity to breathe. Sweat fell from his forehead like rain, dripping down, leaving many marks on the ground. He must have gone through unimaginable hard training to break through the limit. God helps those who help themselves. "Cheng, how many more dance stage outbursts do you think my brother can make?" Yenjika asked with expectation and worry. Lu Cheng thought for a while and said, "It's too far away, so I can't see clearly. I might not be able to make an accurate judgment. Just listen and see. I think your brother can only do one more force concentration. But even without the burst of dance stage, your brother is still stronger than a top-notch professional ninth pin fighter. Even if he consumes too much energy and his physical condition deteriorates, he can still fight." In other words, if his opponent was a professional ninth pin fighter, Lin Ke would have a chance to win. What a pity. Yenjika understood her boyfriend's unspoken words and sighed softly. What a pity that his opponent was a strong supernatural ability user. At this time, the mature-looking Muyu had come to the stone steps and handed his belongings to the competition supervisor. He had already thrown the strange Taoist amulet into Lin Xiaoji's hand. This wasn't some mystical artifact. It was just a shackle on his mind. The backlash of his supernatural ability would randomly make his friends and family suffer for 3 days. Of course, he couldn't use it with peace of mind. Unless it was necessary, he would only use his martial arts. Because of this, he couldn't pass the ranking event of professional 8th pin, even if he had defeated more than one professional 8th pin fighter in the dance stage. This time, the loser would be ranked 2nd and would most likely face Shanbei in the quarterfinals. It was a battle of life and death. Xiao Xiao, Xiao Jin, and the rest had hinted that they were prepared to be unlucky. How could he bear to let them down? How could he disappoint everyone who had come to the martial arts arena together? Unshackle and go all out. From now on I am Muyu the Bane. Stepping into the arena, He stood at the position where Lin Xiaoji and Jin Dali had started. Lin Ke also returned to the opposite side. The referee looked at Mu Yu with a solemn expression. He puffed up his chest and shouted, "Round 4 start!" Mu Yu curled his toes and the two muscles on his back flapped. He nimbly bypassed Lin Ke and chose to fight in a guerrilla style. This time, Lin Ke didn't attack with his Dan Qi at the beginning. If it was said that after defeating Jin Dali, his entire body seemed to be overflowing with flames, exuding a vigorous fighting spirit, and displaying the joy and thirst of victory, then now, all of this was restrained, and he was as calm as water, as steady as the ground. Lin Ke swayed his center of gravity and stepped on Yu's steps. He was faster and more agile than Mu Yu, closing the distance between them. Just as he was about to enter the attacking range, his right foot suddenly missed as if he had stepped on a trap. Crack! He lost his balance and his right foot sank into the ground. This green brick was the one he had stepped on when he was running to perform the meteor blast. That dance stage movement required the explosion to be gathered in an instant to produce the effect of a small bomb. Therefore he used force to step on it. It didn't break the ground but softened the cornerstone. Now that he stepped on it, of course, it was empty. Moreover, the arena was so large. To be able to just happen to step on one of these pieces, and even step on it, that was a matter of extremely small probability. What an unlucky encounter. Lin Ke's body tilted and Mu Yu immediately leaned on him. He moved to the side with the crane steps and visualized a tiger roaring in the forest. He raised his right hand and fiercely chopped down. This degree of loss of center of gravity was a problem for a professional ninth pin, but it wasn't too serious for a dance stage mighty ones. Lin Ke's muscles expanded and his fascia stretched. He quickly regained his center of gravity and stabilized his body. He raised his left arm and was ready to counterattack with half a block and half a swing. But just as he was about to exert his strength, his arm muscles suddenly twitched and showed signs of strain. Under normal circumstances, it was inevitable for martial artists to have such injuries. However, they would only encounter such injuries when they were relatively exhausted. Especially for dance stage martial artists, they had extremely strong control over their bodies. Under normal circumstances, how could they injure themselves by exerting force? Lin Ke's physical condition had deteriorated a lot, and he was close to his limit. But as a Dan Qi level mighty ones, all the forces in his body were united as one. Without other factors, it was impossible for him to show signs of strain at this time. However, this extremely small probability of happening had unfortunately happened. Of course, if his physical condition was good, such a small probability would be close to zero, and he wouldn't have suffered such an inexplicable injury. That was why Lin Xiaoji believed that the more tired the enemy was, the easier it was for her captain to win. At this critical moment, if Lin Ke forced himself to parry, not only would his stance be broken by Mu Yu due to insufficient strength, but he would also cause the strain to become a symptom of strain. Therefore, he pondered deeply and took a deep breath to let his qi and blood flow back, so that all the forces in his body were united as one. Boom! Dan Qi gushed out. Lin Ke's left arm first stagnated, then expanded and swung back. There were no more signs of strain. Bam! Mu Yu's tiger hug downward chop couldn't resist the counterpunch of Lin Ke's force concentration. He couldn't help but take a few steps back, each step leaving a footprint of varying depths. Lin Ke's eyes were cold as ice. He hurried forward, wanting to seize this opportunity to perform 24 blizzard strikes. Suddenly his feet slipped again, and his body tilted forward. This was where his and Jin Dali's sweat had stained. How unlucky he was to step on it. Mu Yu exerted strength in his arched feet, and like a red-crowned crane, he quickly circled to Lin Ke's back. Taking advantage of the moment when Lin Ke was close to his limit and couldn't pull back his center of gravity, Mu Yu transformed into a giant bear and leaned against Lin Ke's back. Bam! Lin Ke staggered and rushed out of the arena. He barely managed to stand and didn't fall. The referee withdrew his hand and raised it high, announcing, "Round 4 Mu Yu wins." Seeing that the great Demon King, who had silenced the entire audience just now, was defeated by Old Man Mu in just a few moves, the students in the stands cheered and jumped for joy. They erupted with a momentum that was comparable to the beginning of the match, praising their Lord General with shouts. "Mu Yu! Mu Yu! Jinx. Jinx. What a troublesome supernatural ability, Lu Qing thought. He took a deep breath, stood up, and took off his jacket. Yinjika, who was beside him, looked worried. She blurted out, "Chung." She wanted to remind her boyfriend to be careful, but when the words came to her mouth, she felt that it would be too much of a jinx. She was stuck and didn't know what to say. "What's wrong?" Lu Qing turned to look at Yinjika. Yinjika smiled and waved his fists, saying, "Go for it." Chapter 317. Lu Qing smiled and bumped Yinjika's hand with his fist. He said in a low voice, "It's all thanks to Coach Yan's brilliance." Although misfortune was a strange and troublesome supernatural ability, it was not invincible, especially since Old Man Mu had limited strength and the arena was simple. As long as Lu Qing paid more attention to the situation and fought cautiously, he would not be too unlucky. His advantage in strength was enough to offset everything. "Come on, I'll lend you everything," Yinjika answered in a low voice, her eyes sparkling and her pink lips opening and closing. Then she took the initiative to bump Lu Qing's fist. Lu Qing put his coat on the seat and high-fived his teammates one by one. "Victory!" Li Mao, Sun Jian, and the others yelled out worriedly. Although they were confident in Lu Qing's strength, Lin Kei's loss was too strange. They could not help but feel nervous when they thought of Old Man Mu. As previous victories, the lucky ones were similar, but the unlucky ones were all different. Lu Qing smiled faintly, waved his fist and replied firmly, "Victory." Seeing Lin Kei off the stage, Lin Xiaoji jumped up from the seats of the home team, the rosary beads in her hand and the cross in her palm shaking. "Captain is awesome." She tied her hair into a high ponytail again, and her eyes were full of joy. "He didn't let me down." Jean Dolly also waved his fist excitedly and asked for approval. "Captain, you didn't consume much energy, right? He just blocked Lin Kei's dance stage explosion, and didn't even take it head-on." Yes, it's a one-on-one fight with Lu Qing." Lin Xiaoji nodded her ponytail. Misfortune is really a magical supernatural ability. Thinking of this, she lowered her head and checked again to see if she had forgotten or brought the wrong amulet. Pain and happiness. In the stands, Mu Jinyan, who was shouting excitedly, became gloomy. He pouted and stamped his feet. "Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Isn't this cheating? Why don't you use your supernatural ability? Let's have a martial arts competition with our Lin Kei." What an embarrassing loss. While Mu Jinyan was mumbling unreasonably, Yin Xiaoling was already nervous. Various scenes of Lu Qing's misfortune flashed in her mind. "It's time to go on the stage. Quick, everyone treat yourselves as lucky stars," she called out in the live post. "I'll be the head." Unparalleled Dragon King made a joke. "Uncle, what do you mean? I don't understand." Yin Xiaoling replied with a confused expression, and the mood of the audience around her had recovered from the abyss. They became excited again, and were full of imagination about the result of the competition. Both sides were down to the last contestant, so why couldn't they hope for victory? Although Lu Qing was a very powerful martial artist, any kind of accident could happen in a one-on-one fight. The Bane's bad luck increased the probability of these accidents happening. Old Man Mu wasn't good at creating miracles, but he was good at dragging his opponents down to his level. Our chances of winning are slim, but what if? Who knows? The audience exhaled one by one, creating a rolling and reverberating wave. "Beat him! Beat him! Beat him! Beat him!" Lu Qing ignored the waves of cheers, each louder than the last, and steadily walked along the road towards the arena, meeting up with Lin Kei halfway. There was no look of pain on Lin Kei's face. His eyes were deep, and no one knew what he was thinking. He just habitually raised his hand and bumped fists with Lu Qing. "Hey, this isn't the brother-in-law I know." With his perverted desire for victory, shouldn't he be upset now? Lu Qing was a little surprised. But in the blink of an eye, he was relieved of this doubt. Putting himself in the other's shoes, if it were him after inexplicably losing a match, the most important psychological activity would definitely not be pain, but thinking about why he lost, where he lost, and what he should do next time to avoid the same mistake. Brother-in-law should be at this stage. When the two were about to pass each other, Lin Kei suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Be careful, no problem." Sure enough, Lu Qing confirmed his speculation and smiled happily. Don't worry. While speaking, he passed by Lin Ke and strode to the stone steps. His momentum was accumulating little by little, like a storm sweeping over. Muyu suddenly had the illusion that the temperature in the arena had dropped a lot, and subconsciously shivered. When Lu Qing stood in front of him, his momentum was like a rainbow, as deep as the sea. Without making a move, he could weaken the opponent's fighting spirit and affect their judgment. The referee looked around, raised his right hand again, and spat out the force in his dantian. Round 5 start. Lu Qing didn't want to attack first. Instead, he was cautious. He looked around and listened carefully, taking in the situation of the arena and his own body. He waited calmly to avoid any accidents. Muyu unleashed his supernatural ability without holding back. With the crane step, he leaped and circled towards his opponent. Suddenly, his right foot fell into the ground, and his body fell forward involuntarily. The Yin force under Lin Ke's feet stepped on more than one soft spot. Lu Qing wasn't unlucky, but Muyu tasted the trap that Lin Ke tasted. Crack. His right foot fell into the air, and his body fell forward. Seeing that he was about to kneel down to Lu Qing, he quickly straightened his spine and exerted the force in his muscles to pull back his center of gravity. This pull was too forceful. Instead of falling forward, Muyu leaned back and took 2 steps back. Whoosh. In a panic, he didn't pay attention to his feet and stepped on the slippery mark left by Lin Ke when he slid and kicked Jin Dali. Muyu slid back with his left foot and did a split. Then he heard the sound of cloth tearing. It was so pleasant and so thrilling. Rip. Muyu's crotch was torn, and a red color was exposed. Lu Qing stood there, dumbfounded. The situation was so weird that he didn't dare to attack for fear of falling into a trap. What happened? Lu Qing was at a loss. In the midst of the chaos, Muyu steadied himself and caught sight of his boxers from the corner of his eye. His face instantly flushed with the same color as a few thoughts flashed through his mind. How did this happen? Did I finally reach my limit after wearing this martial arts suit for half a year? What was the reason for the series of accidents? How did this happen? Lin Xiaoji held the cross and stared blankly at the arena. She didn't understand what had happened. The unlucky one was not Lu Qing but Captain. She glanced at Muyu's bright red boxers shyly, and an idea popped up in her mind. Well, Captain also believed in metaphysics. How did this happen? Jin Dali rubbed his eyes, suspecting that he had been knocked out by Lin Ke, and was now dreaming. How did this happen? Yenjika opened her eyes wide and her mouth almost formed an O shape. It was rare for her to lose her composure. Chung didn't get unlucky, but the Bane got unlucky himself? Was there really such a thing as the human glory? How did this happen? Kai Zongming touched his chin and suddenly punched Li Mao. What? Li Mao came back to his senses and looked at him sideways. I'm not dreaming, Kai Zongming said with a smile. Don't you think it's weird? It's weird. Did the Bane's counterattack come early? But isn't his counterattack always aimed at others? Li Mao forgot about the punch just now. How did this happen? Lin Ke frowned and felt confused. Beside him, Geyser snorted and nodded thoughtfully. How did this happen? The spectators in the stands were all dumbfounded. They suspected that this was a masquerade, and that the one wearing the Lu Qing mask was Captain Muyu, while the unlucky old man Mu was actually Lu Qing. They had time to be surprised, but Muyu couldn't. If Lu Qing got close to him while he was in a split, he wouldn't be able to withstand more than 2 moves. Thoughts flashed in his mind, and he quickly made a decision. He lay down and rolled to the side, hiding the killer move of the silent kick. Lu Qing watched and didn't attack blindly. He didn't know what was going on, and whether he would be affected. Of course, he had to be cautious. While rolling, Muyu was relieved that his opponent didn't seize the opportunity to attack. He exerted strength in his waist and abdomen, and was about to stand up and take a stance again. But at this moment, a few round pieces of stone that he had brought with him from his roll stopped right where he had landed. Whoosh! Muyu slipped again. Before he could straighten his body, he leaned back again and fell on his back. It was a heavy fall, and he felt a little dizzy. He hurriedly rolled again to avoid the opponent's attack. Lu Qing watched Muyu's performance with twitching mouth. He almost forgot that he was still in the arena. What is he going to do? Muyu rolled a few times and suddenly lost his touch. He realized that he was already at the edge of the ring. Half of his body was outside the ring, and he was falling in midair. He was shocked. He stretched out his hand and tried to catch the arena, but for some reason he was still half a beat too late. He only touched the edge of the arena with his fingertips. Thump! Muyu fell to the ground beside the ring. His eyes were blank and lifeless. He wasn't the only one who was in a daze. Lu Qing opened his mouth slightly and almost blurted out, F***ck. I haven't even made a move. How did I win? Not only that, I haven't even moved since the start of the match. The referee was stunned for more than 10 seconds. He looked at Lu Qing in confusion and raised his right hand. Round 5 Lu Qing wins. The final result, Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. Clang. The cross in Lin Xiaoji's hand fell to the ground. She muttered to herself in horror. This metaphysics is wrong. Well, it's not metaphysics if you can understand it. God, did you get the wrong script? Jean Dolly blurted out as if he was sleep-talking. The audience in the stands looked at each other in confusion. For the time being, they didn't feel the depression or pain of defeat. We might be watching a fake match. This should be an incredible event on campus, right? The Bane, who was famous for making his opponent unlucky, defeated himself without even a single fight. In the away team seats, Kai Zhongming opened his mouth and said, "This is the strangest match I've ever seen. So far." Chapter 318. In the stands, Yan Xiaoling, who was holding her phone to record the match, opened her mouth wide in shock. Originally, she was worried that she would be unable to stop herself from shouting and waving her arms when she saw the intense part of the battle. She was worried that she would accidentally throw her phone away. Who would have thought that the development of this battle would be so outrageous that she was completely dumbstruck? She didn't cheer or get excited. Instead, she turned off the camera and posted the video to the forum with a title that best expressed her feelings. I might have met a ghost. Quickly scrolling the progress bar, Unparalleled Dragon King finished watching the match in less than a minute. He sent an emoji scratching the back of its head and said, "Damn, what is Muyu doing? Lu Qing won just like that? Is Muyu suffering from the backlash of his supernatural ability?" Road to the arena wandered over to them again. Ha 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 ha, I got it. It's so funny. My stomach hurts from laughing. Nia Chichi sent an emoji. I watched it twice. Each time I watched it, I laughed like crazy. How is this a martial arts competition? It's obviously a comedy show. Okamoto's fan sent an emoji of crying tears of laughter. Hands up. Didn't you say that the backlash of Muyu's supernatural ability would only affect the people around him and not himself? Brahmin laughed through her tears and looked confused at the same time. Unparalleled Dragon King sent an emoji of laughter and said, "Muyu is blessed by God. He used his supernatural ability Misfortune on Lin Ke and Lu Qing. It's normal for him to suffer from the backlash. No problem, that's it. I see. Then I can laugh without worry." Brahmin sent an extremely large emoji of haha. But he didn't suffer from the backlash when he fought Peng Liyun last year. Wonton Seller had been waiting to watch the video during her break in senior high school. No problem. Last year, Muyu fought Su Wanyan with Misfortune and Crow's Mouth. He barely won after both of them were injured. When he fought Peng Liyun, he was already at the end of his rope. I guess he couldn't use his supernatural ability anymore. Unparalleled Dragon King was very familiar with the scene. He was indeed a human-shaped database. Of course, it's also possible that Lu Qing has the talent to restrain this supernatural ability. Oh, Eternal Nightfall. Can I post this video on Weibo? It's so fun. I want more people to see it. Rolling on the ground laughing expression. All the good names are taken by dogs, said. Fa. A smile gradually appeared on Yan Xiaoling's face as she slowly recovered. All the good names have been taken by dogs. Immediately posted a Weibo post with the video as the theme and the caption. What an amazing match. Lu Qing, who won by lying down, versus Muyu, who defeated himself. Finally, she tagged a few of her friends on Weibo. Among them, a female ID named Stupid Winter, with an ID of Laughing to Tears said, "Haha, what a professional performance. There was not a single flaw. He was using his life to put on a show. At Oscar-winning actor. In the martial arts arena of Shanbei University, Feng Zhirong had completely suppressed his opponent. Su Wanyan and Peng Liyun were sitting side by side. They were not interested in this game. They even suspected that they had no chance to play. As the president of the martial arts club, he had to pay attention to his image in front of his classmates. Otherwise, he would have taken out his phone and searched for the match between Lu Cheng and Mu Yu. Could his taste of the starry sky really restrain this supernatural ability? Last November, when he played a trick on him with his corvine mouth, he suffered a backlash. But he had to wait for confirmation. While he was thinking, a mobile phone suddenly appeared in front of him. "Hey, junior brother Peng, what's wrong?" Su Wanyan turned to look at Peng Liyun. Peng Liyun smiled and said with a hint of evil interest, "Just watch and you'll know." When he was not in a daze, he was actually a nice person to get along with. Watch. Su Wanyan looked down and found that the screen was showing the video of his fight with Mu Yu. He held his breath and reached out his right hand to click the play button. What the? F***CK. F***CK. As the progress bar rolled, Su Wanyan's expression changed again and again. When the video ended, he was stunned until the referee announced Feng Zhirong's victory. "Junior brother Peng, if I meet Lu Cheng." He turned his head to Peng Liyun and said with a sad face, "Can I just admit defeat?" Peng Liyun chuckled. "What do you think?" "Hiss." Su Wanyan gasped. "I'm afraid I can't control my mouth. How about this? You guys find a piece of tape and stick it on my mouth?" Beside the arena, Mu Yu, who was in a daze, finally came back to reality. There was no depression or pain, only confusion and confusion. He carefully got up and glanced at Lu Cheng. Then he slowly walked back to the home team seats, afraid that the ground would collapse and create a crater. "Captain, what's going on?" Lin Xiaoji cautiously approached him upon seeing the situation. Mu Yu thought for a while and said, "My supernatural ability backfired." This was certain, but he wasn't sure why his supernatural ability backfired. How could this happen? Lin Xiaoji frowned and suddenly nodded. "I get it. Because Lu Cheng is tough. Curses and misfortune are ineffective, and things that don't succeed will definitely backfire." "What kind of theory is that?" Mu Yu blurted out in surprise. Lin Xiaoji answered seriously, "Metaphysics theory." Mu Yu was stunned for a while and then said, "I suspect that Lu Cheng has a third supernatural ability that can restrain or even backfire curses and misfortune." "It's possible." Jean Dali rushed to Lin Xiaoji's side. Seeing the two leading players and the rest of the substitutes surrounding them, Mu Yu finally got out of his previous mood and apologized with guilt and depression. "I'm sorry, I can't lead you to the national final this year. All the students who dare to join the martial arts club are true love." The atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Lin Xiaoji's eyes reddened. She took a breath and pretended to be heartless. "Captain, we still have the year after next. What are you afraid of? We still have a chance." "Why not next year?" Jean Dali asked blankly. "Isn't it obvious? Next year, Peng Liyun will be in his senior year, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke will have matured for another year, and Shanbei and Song will be so strong that it's hopeless. How can we have a chance? The year after next, when Peng Liyun graduates, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke will be strong again, but at least we still have a chance to compete for another place." Lin Xiaoji was just making things up, but as she spoke, she revealed her true feelings. "We also want to participate in the national final once. We have to have something to aspire to in our 4 years of university. The problem is I'm already in my junior year and will graduate the year after next." Mu Yu interrupted blankly. Lin Xiaoji rolled her eyes and laughed. "Captain, you can't abandon us. Without your misfortune, how can we make it to the national final? How about this? You can apply to delay your graduation. Anyway, you've failed several courses and may not have enough credits." Like other first-class universities, Shannon implemented a credit system. One course was worth 1 to 4 credits. Students were allowed to finish their undergraduate studies in advance. If they didn't have enough credits, they could apply to delay their graduation by 1 or 2 years. Speaking of this, Lin Xiaoji felt sad and angry. She had always done well in her studies, But twice, her captain had used his supernatural power of misfortune, which made her even more unlucky. Just as she was reinvigorating the atmosphere, voices suddenly sounded from the stands. They started weak and became louder, and eventually merged into a chorus of shouts. Together through thick and thin. Together through thick and thin. Together through thick and thin. Mu Yu and Lin Xiaoji were stunned. They instinctively looked around, but soon their vision was blurred by the banners. In the sound of "Together through thick and thin," Lu Cheng returned to the seats of the away team. The first thing he saw was Xu Rui and the shooting team, who were recording the details. He waved his hand in a friendly manner, and was about to say hello when he saw Xu Rui's face turn pale. She took a few steps back, as if she was afraid of being contaminated. The rest of the shooting team also stepped back, leaving only the cameraman standing there awkwardly. "Cheng, you're a god. You won the game without moving your hands, feet, or body." At this time, Kai Zongming gave him a thumbs up to ease the awkwardness. "I was quite confused." Lu Cheng walked over with a smile. Kai Zongming quietly took a few steps back and distanced himself from Lu Cheng again. "Why are you hiding?" Lu Cheng asked in amusement. He saw Yanjika looking at him with both joy and surprise. He already understood that those guys were afraid of being contaminated with misfortune like Mu Yu. Hehe. Kai Zongming smiled without saying anything and shrank to Lin Kei's side. "Are you still a friend?" Lu Cheng helplessly stared at Talker. "Not really." Little Ming answered without any sense of shame. Lu Cheng was so angry that he almost laughed. He was touched to see his little fairy standing beside him fearlessly. This is true love. At this time he heard his master's voice. "The relic of Longhu Immortal that you got can probably reflect supernatural powers like the crow's mouth of misfortune." This sentence was like a flash of lightning that illuminated the fog in Lu Cheng's mind. He suddenly understood what was going on. When he was asleep, the Jindan could foresee the approaching danger. When it was balancing itself into the Dan, it incorporated a little of this supernatural power into it. This is the third supernatural power I've awakened, right? Of course, most of the power is provided by the Jindan for the time being. What should I call the supernatural powers of tough life and premonition? Son of heaven? Lucky star? While thinking, Lu Cheng subconsciously looked at Li Mao, Kai Zongming, and the rest of his teammates. He found that they were still wearing the same expression as before. They had no reaction to his master's words. This is a powerful move. While Lu Cheng was sighing with emotion, Yanjika stood on her tiptoes and whispered in his ear. "Cheng, did you feel anything strange just now?" Lu Cheng explained with a smile. "I've awakened my third supernatural power. It reflected Mu Yu's misfortune and caused a backlash. Well, I should say that this supernatural power has been awakened for a long time. I just didn't notice it and didn't know what it was." He told Coach Yin about his encounter with the thief at the train station in a low voice. "I see." Yanjika's eyes lit up with relief and surprise. Then she snorted. "That's so annoying. I thought it was the effect of my luck. I thought I had awakened a supernatural power of good luck. Look, Mu Yu's backlash is so severe. It must be because of your luck." Lu Cheng flattered her and suddenly thought of a question. "Kuku, you're not afraid of getting misfortune and took the initiative to welcome me. Is it because you trust me, or because you think your luck is invincible and you don't need to worry about it?" Yanjika answered with a laugh. After the greeting, Mu Yu, Lin Xiaoji, and the rest returned to the locker room. Since the captain had suffered a backlash, Lin Xiaoji was much more relaxed. She took off her shoes and went into the bathroom. She took off the amulets one by one and stuffed them into the closet with her clothes. Under the hot water, every cell in her body was screaming for comfort. After applying the shampoo, Lin Xiaoji enjoyed the bath. Just then, she saw the light above her flicker a few times and make a buzzing sound. After a short struggle, it finally went out completely. Immediately after, Lin Xiaoji felt that the hot water on her body turned into a bone-piercing cold rain. She turned to look at the closet, and felt that the cute amulets were so far away. Chapter 319. The atmosphere in the Shannon University Martial Arts Club was warm but not violent. Lu Cheng and the others didn't leave in a hurry like they did when they were escaping from Yimo. Instead, They leisurely celebrated in the locker room for a while, rested for a while, and then slowly packed up their belongings and came out. At this time, the crowd in the gym had dispersed, leaving only a few students lingering around to exercise. Once they saw Lu Cheng, their expressions changed and they scattered like birds and beasts, as if they had seen the arrival of the Demon King. Even Mu Yu, the Bane, was unlucky in front of him, let alone ordinary people like us. Witnessing this scene, Kai Zongming and the others, who already knew that Lu Cheng relied on the rebound of his third supernatural ability, couldn't help but laugh out loud. They all looked at the legendary protagonist with ridicule. Lu Cheng held Yanzhika with one hand and covered his face with the other. He sighed and said, "I feel like a big villain boss." Needless to say, this was inexplicably satisfying. After a long journey, it was already 8 o'clock when the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members returned to school. Thus, they went back to their respective homes and mothers, taking advantage of the weekend to do laundry, tidy up, and busy themselves with housework. The next day, it was the same cycle of morning exercises and special training. In the afternoon, Lu Cheng accompanied Yanzhika to the first teaching building, intending to find a classroom with fewer people to study by themselves. He slung 2 school bags over his shoulder and looked at the students coming and going. He chuckled softly and said, "Actually, I quite like the way girls carry a few books to class and study by themselves. It's very artistic. I used to do this a lot, but unfortunately, someone would take the initiative to snatch my things when he saw me carrying them." Yanzhika pursed her lips and turned to look at him with a smile. "I thought it would be troublesome for someone to carry 2 stacks of books, so I put them in the bag. Otherwise, a burly man carrying a few books, that image, haha." As she spoke, she couldn't continue laughing. Lu Cheng's lips curled and hummed in agreement. "That image is too beautiful, I don't dare to look at it. But I don't think I'm burly, I'm more well-proportioned." While talking and laughing, they stepped into the teaching building. Instead of taking the elevator, they went to the 3rd floor to find a suitable place for self-study. After circling around, they finally locked onto their target. They entered a classroom with only a dozen or so people sitting around. They directly chose 2 seats in the last row by the window. There are still so many people studying on Sunday afternoon. The atmosphere in our school is pretty good. Lu Cheng recalled the scenes of the other classrooms he had seen before, and couldn't help but sigh with emotion in a low voice. "But every time I go back to the dormitory, I see little Ming and Godwin not studying. I feel that our generation of college students is really decadent." Godly Man was none other than Tang Wen. Due to his addiction to games, he had forgotten the date of the exam and failed the original questions of the makeup exam. Talker had given him the nickname Godly Man, which was recognized by everyone in the dormitory. Yanzhika took the school bag and stopped her hand in the opening position. She chuckled and said, "This reminds me of a sentence that our marketing teacher often said. The results of a survey only depend on the choice of sample. For example, if you want to praise a university's study style, you should focus on the students studying in the teaching building and the library. If you want to criticize, you should go to the dormitory, the lakeside, or the martial arts arena." She controlled the volume of her voice, so as not to disturb the other students' self-study. Of course, with her and Lu Cheng's current good hearing, such a low volume wouldn't affect the conversation at all at such a distance. While talking, Yanzhika opened the school bag and took out thick books, corresponding references, half-filled notes, a notebook for making drafts, and a stationery bag with a picture of a pink pig. Lu Cheng also took out the textbook of discrete mathematics, detailed examples borrowed from the library, notes for writing key points, a notebook for calculation, a pencil, a pen, and an eraser. They put these on the table almost at the same time. The positions and order were almost the same, as if they were copying each other. After they finished, they looked at each other and smiled tacitly. The sun shone in through the window and the scenery was just right. Just as Lu Cheng was about to turn the page, Yanzhika suddenly rested her chin on her left hand and looked at him with half of her face. "Cheng, don't you think it's boring?" "What do you mean boring?" Lu Cheng was confused. That's right. Yanzhika rolled her eyes and bit her teeth. "Every time you have to study with me, you don't have time to go on a date. Do you think this is boring?" Other people's relationships probably aren't like ours, right? That's it. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. Of course not. After all, I was once addicted to studying. For me, the spiritual satisfaction of solving a difficult problem is no less than fighting in an ordinary challenge tournament. Besides, I have a lot of specialized courses. In order to not fail my course, I have to study more by myself. Isn't this a date? With you, everything is a date. He had lowered his requirements in study, from graduating with honors to graduating without failing a course. After all, it was difficult to have the best of both worlds. A person's energy was limited. Meet num. Yenjika scolded, lowered her eyes and chuckled. She lowered her voice again. Actually, I like the way we are now. During self-study, when she occasionally looked up and saw Cheng's face and felt his presence, everything would become so warm and comfortable. Me too. Lu Qing emphasized. Yenjika rolled her eyes and showed her dimples. Really? Do you really like it? Do you like it very much? Yes, I like it very much. Lu Qing said without hesitation. Since you like it very much, we won't go out on a date in the future. I'll study with you when I'm free. Yenjika straightened her body and made the decision happily. Ah. Lu Qing opened his mouth wide. These two things can't be mixed together. Before he finished his words, he saw the girl's eyes were bright, her mouth was pursed and her lips were curved. It seemed that she was trying very hard to hold back her laughter. I feel like I've been tricked by you again. Lu Qing covered his face and sighed. Yenjika lay down and released her laughter into her arms. Her shoulders were shaking and her hair was hanging lightly. She was very happy. After such a beginning, both of them were in a good mood, and the efficiency of self-study seemed to have increased a lot. After reading a chapter on discrete mathematics, and doing the corresponding exercises, Lu Qing was satisfied with the solution of the problem and felt a little dizzy, so he decided to take a 10-minute break to relax for a while. This course is really difficult. It is said that the failure rate is very high. Lu Qing stared at the textbook for a few seconds and sighed. Then he turned his head to look at Yenjika, and saw that she was calculating something. She looked very focused and her eyes were deep. Sometimes she frowned, sometimes she pouted, sometimes she smiled, and sometimes she pursed her lips. She had an intoxicating beauty. Lu Qing looked at her with a smile. He looked at her long black eyelashes fluttering like a fan. He looked at her lively eyes and her delicate cheeks. What are you looking at? Do what you want to do. Go play with your phone. Yenjika couldn't focus under his gaze. She scolded in a low voice and hit him lightly. Lu Qing smiled and took out his phone. He unlocked the screen and planned to relax by browsing the forum. The first post that caught his eyes was from "All the good names are taken by dogs." Haha, I'm in the headlines. No, the video I reposted has become a hot topic. What video? Lu Qing followed the link in the post and clicked on Weibo. He saw Lu Qing who won by lying down versus Muyu who defeated himself. As the video of the competition was extremely funny, it attracted a lot of people to repost it. It actually caused an explosive spread effect. In less than a day, there were already more than 10,000 reposts and nearly 10,000 comments. The number of people who viewed it was even more uncountable. Lu Qing watched it from the perspective of a bystander. He was also very happy and sympathized with Old Man Mu. Haha, I may have played a fake game. He read the comments while laughing. He was waiting for Yenjika to finish the problem so that he could share the most interesting part with her. Good actor. Strong actor. I'm going to laugh with this video this year. Haha, my mom asked me why I was kneeling and looking at the computer. Amazing and perfect. Lu Qing, who was standing in the middle, was dumbfounded. As he read, he found a few IDs with a lot of likes. One was Shannon Muyu, one was Old Man Mu, one was Calamity Muyu, one was Songcheng Lu Cheng, and one was Warrior Lu Cheng. Songcheng Lu Cheng said with emotion, I was dumbfounded. This is the first time I've seen such a game. Warrior Lu Cheng accused Songcheng Lu Cheng. This is fake. It's a new account. It's obviously fake. You said on Weibo that you were in the capital. So Songcheng University has moved to the capital? Songcheng Lu Cheng retorted. Motherf***, who is this? I didn't register. Lu Cheng was stunned for a while. He felt like he had met Li Gui. These guys must have changed their names to gain popularity and gain attention. At this moment, Yenjika's phone flashed and a message came in. She just solved the previous problem and felt good. She picked it up and found it was a message from Yan Xiaoling. Senior sister, let Lu Cheng register a Weibo account. Let's support him. There are so many imposters now. That video is popular. It's the video of his fight with Old Man Mu. Yenjika almost didn't understand what she was saying. She reorganized her words and understood what was going on. She turned her head and said, Cheng, do you know about the video on Weibo? The video of your fight with Muyu? Yes, I'm watching it. 3 guys are impersonating me and accusing each other. Lu Cheng was so angry that he laughed. The 3 guys were arguing so much that they had tens of thousands of followers. At Shannon University, Lin Xiaoji stood on the balcony and called Muyu. Captain, look at Weibo. You're popular. Achoo. Yes, it's not a good thing. Muyu was already blushing because of the ridicule. It's a good thing to have attention. Maybe you can become a verified account in the future and make money from this. Achoo, quick, change your literary name to yourself. We'll go and prove that you're real. Lin Xiaoji urged. Damn it. I'm a professional 9th pin with strong qi and blood. How could I catch a cold just by taking a cold shower? The heavens didn't open their eyes. You have to believe in metaphysics. Lu Cheng and Yenjika were in a good mood. They even enjoyed watching the 3 imposters quarrel for a while. Suddenly, Lu Cheng's phone vibrated. He picked it up and lowered his voice. Senior sister? It was Shi Yuejian. Shi Yuejian laughed and said, I saw the video. It's funny. You should register a Weibo account. Don't let others take advantage of your popularity. I have. Lu Cheng answered with his mouth twitching. His previous Weibo account was just for browsing. He didn't post much, and his name was so Chinibyu. You have? What's your name? Why didn't I find it? Those look wrong. Shi Yuejian asked. Lu Cheng covered his face and was too embarrassed to speak. Back then he liked to read fantasy novels, so his Weibo username was Donghuang Tai. Currently, other than the zombie account, there was only one other account that followed him, and that was his little fairy's Weibo username, Sword Don't Drink. Her QQ username had also been changed to Ku. I'll change it right away. I'll text you when it's done. Lu Cheng skipped the first step. Okay, I'll verify it for you. Shi Yuejian hung up the phone. Lu Cheng changed the name from Donghuang Tai to Lu Cheng. After thinking for a while, he added 129. 129. Yenjika murmured as she watched him work. Her dimples appeared on her face and her smile was charming. She felt sweet in her heart. It was her birthday. Lu Cheng smiled and didn't say anything. The change was approved and he sent the name to his senior sister. Before long, Shi Yuejian of Wuyue Club, who had tens of millions of followers, forwarded the Weibo of all the good names are taken by dogs and added a paragraph. It's a very fun game. Lu Cheng 129, my little junior brother. Chapter 320. Shi Yuejian's seemingly ordinary Weibo post immediately caused a sensation. The words "yes, my junior brother" shocked many people. They forwarded and commented on it one after another. It's going to be big news. So Lu Cheng is your junior brother, heroine sure. No wonder he could reach 8th pin in 1 year, and win the youth tournament of Xing province. He's a strong competitor for the favored son of God. No wonder. Lu Cheng is also a direct disciple of a big sect. Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei deserve to lose. Can't you guys have a better attitude? It's not like only the direct disciples of big sects and forces can become the favored son of God. It should be the other way around. The favored son of God must become the direct disciples of big sects and forces. Even if one of them doesn't have eyes, they can't all be blind. The comment above came from Unparalleled Dragon King, of course, the one in Lu Cheng's fan forum. The real Dragon King used his real name on Weibo, Dragon King Chen Qitao. Unparalleled Dragon King's comment made Yi Yaoting, who was browsing the comments, feel ashamed. Just now, when she saw Shi Yuejian's Weibo post, she spontaneously came up with the same idea as some of the comments. No wonder I lost to Lucheng. No wonder he can always create miracles and surpass me and all the other mighty ones I know. It's because he has an extraordinary background and is a direct disciple of the Ice God sect. And I just reached Dan's stage recently and successfully joined Xuanwu sect. And I don't have a master of physical invulnerability. When she saw Unparalleled Dragon King's rebuke, she felt that every word was piercing her heart and broke out in cold sweat. My attitude just now was very dangerous. As a fighter, I can't whitewash failure and find excuses. I have to admit defeat, but not admit defeat. She looked down and continued reading the reposts and comments. Wow, Lucheng is your junior brother. No wonder I always thought highly of him. Junior brother is not bad. I remember he just won the championship, right? That's right. Except for 24 blizzard strikes, Lucheng hasn't used many moves of the Ice Sect before. Well, in that case, it's been almost 4 months since Lucheng entered the Dan stage. As the heroine's junior brother, it's impossible that he hasn't practiced some unique skills of the Ice Sect. Oh my, I'm looking forward to his duel with Peng Liyun and Run Li more and more. Heroine, quickly let your little junior brother tell us how he feels. Are you very confused when facing such a high-level actor? Was he laughing like a fool? Lucheng swiped his thumb and leaned his head against Yan Zhika's as he looked at his senior sister's Weibo. When he was satisfied with the likes and exited, he suddenly found that Lucheng 129 had more than 20,000 followers, and it was still rising. The advertising effect is not bad. Yan Zhika turned her eyes and joked. Most of them are just here to watch the show. 99% of them are not my fans. Lucheng was very clear-headed and rational. The number of followers on his forum was still far from reaching 10,000. Although he said that, he was still a little excited. Ku, do you think I should post something on Weibo? What should I send? Just be yourself. Yan Zhika looked at him and said with a smile. That's right. I'm a martial artist. I don't have to rely on fans to make a living. Why should I spend so much effort to create a good image for myself? Just do what you want. Lucheng made up his mind and nodded solemnly. Listening to Coach Yan is better than studying for 10 years. Liar. You've listened to hundreds or thousands of words from me, but I don't see you as smart as someone who has studied for thousands or tens of thousands of years. Yan Zhika pretended to be serious and laughed softly. I'm actually speechless. Lucheng couldn't help but laugh. His fingers moved and reposted his senior sister's Weibo post with the following words. Thank you, senior sister, for your recognition. Laughing and crying. I was really confused at that time. I suspected that Muyu was using some big move that didn't distinguish between friend and foe. So I didn't dare to act rashly. Later, I realized that it was the backlash of his supernatural ability, misfortune. Less than a few seconds after he clicked send, he immediately saw a red circle at the bottom of the post. He found that there was already a comment. When he entered, he saw that it was from an ID called Little Mouse in the Alley. There were only 2 words in the comment. Like me. This is fighting for the front row. Lucheng refreshed the page and saw that there were a few more comments and reposts. Eternal Nightfall said, Tiger touch my Lucheng. Close-up photo. Brahman 001 said, Idol look at me, waving. My hair is much longer said, reporting. Unparalleled Dragon King said with a smiling cat head. Then what should I say? The Longhu Club Forum sightseeing group is here? Yan Zhika couldn't help but smile. She took the initiative to help refresh the page, and saw that behind the familiar ID was a large number of unfamiliar followers. If she hadn't reminded Yan Shaoling in advance, the fans of the forum wouldn't have been able to stand in the front row. I don't want to hear. I'm just a fan of the acting Muyu. It's the backlash of supernatural ability. Bane, that's a cool name. When Lucheng and Yan Zhika were browsing the follow-up comments, a well-known user reposted his Weibo post. Mo Jingting, who had tens of millions of followers, said, My awesome junior master, in a classroom on the 4th floor of the number 1 teaching building, Qiu Zhigao finished a homework by himself. He stretched himself and wanted to relax. He browsed the news of Mo Jingting's official fan club and was looking forward to the concert on Tuesday. While scrolling, he suddenly saw a fan saying, Quick. Little sister has posted a new Weibo post. Everyone go and like it. What did Jingting post? Old Chiu clicked on the link and opened the Weibo. Her awesome junior master? Who is that? Qiu Zhigao looked down with interest and noticed that the username of the user that Mo Jingting had reposted was Luqing 129. Haha, the same name as Cheng. Jingting's awesome junior master is also called Lu Cheng. What a coincidence. Qiu Zhigao clicked on Luqing 129 and entered his homepage. He saw the introduction. Songqing University Martial Arts Club Leading General. Songqing University Martial Arts Club Leading General? What a coincidence, the same name as Cheng. Wait. Qiu Zhigao's eyes froze on these few words. F***ck. Could he be the Lu Qing I know? He is Jingting's junior master? Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika also noticed Mo Jingting's repost, because the number of followers on his Weibo account had increased by more than 50,000, and was rapidly approaching 100,000. He could be called a VIP account now. I've received too much attention at my age. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry and made a self-deprecating remark. What does martial niece Mo mean? It's not necessarily a good thing for her to reveal her background and identity. Besides, it's annoying to have too much popularity and too much attention. Lu Qing wasn't ready to become a real celebrity yet. He wanted to participate in competitions, earn money, and fight with strong opponents to reach the peak of martial arts. He wanted to be respected daily and not worry about being disturbed in his life. Others can't even ask for it. Yan Zhika said with a faint smile. This is also a sign of goodwill, right? But I don't like this kind of goodwill. Lu Qing sighed. It's enough for her. Well, those who don't know about the internal affairs of the Ice God sect will think that she has a good relationship with you. As long as you can keep improving and becoming stronger, her Weibo post won't be in vain. Yan Zhika rolled her eyes and analyzed Mo Jingting's thoughts. Unless you post a Weibo post specifically against her. But I don't think you're capable of doing that, Cheng. At this moment, Lu Cheng's phone vibrated with a message. Martial niece Mo said in a weak voice. Junior Master, I reposted your post in a moment of excitement. Did it cause you any trouble? Well, as expected. She did it first and then apologized. Lu Qing showed it to Coach Yan and pondered for a while before replying. It's a little troublesome. Don't do it again. Just don't do it again. Seeing the content, Yan Zhika couldn't help but laugh. She pursed her lips and teased. You're really like a junior master. You sound like an old man. Soon Mo Jingting sent another message. Junior master, you're so kind and broad-minded. I won't do it again. I promise. You've achieved your goal. Of course, you don't have to do it again. Lu Cheng complained in his heart. He was about to put down his phone and concentrate on self-study. At this moment, Yan Zhika bit her lower lip and took the initiative to say, ask her when she's free before and after the concert. As the host, we still have to entertain her. It's troublesome to go out of school. If the time isn't suitable, we won't invite her. We'll just go to the concert. If it weren't for the fact that he was looking forward to a date, Lu Qing would have even skipped the rest of the matter. Hearing his answer, Yan Zhika's expression relaxed. She said with a smile, I just praised you for being a junior master. You're ignoring your martial niece just because of a little trouble? There are very few people who can make me not care about trouble, not including her. Lu Qing responded with a smile, and took the opportunity to make another confession. TSK, your sweet-talking skill has leveled up again? Yan Zhika turned her head and laughed, her eyes shining. How can it be called sweet-talking from the heart? Lu Qing said shamelessly. He also sent a message to Mo Jingting, asking when she was free to entertain. Mo Jingting seemed to have been holding the phone all the time. She quickly replied, Thank you, Junior Master. I know you can't come out during school hours. Besides, aren't you coming to the concert on Tuesday? I can't let you come again and again. How about this? I'll come to your school tomorrow afternoon. Just treat me to the cafeteria. It's a specialty of Songcheng. You can't find it anywhere else. Cafeteria? Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika looked at each other. They didn't expect Mo Jingting to be so considerate. She's not going to play any tricks, is she? Lu Cheng frowned and whispered. No, unless she really wants to force you to fall out with her. Yan Zhika pondered and said, She's probably showing her considerate side after achieving her goal. Lu Qing nodded slightly and typed on the keyboard. Our cafeteria is not good. Be careful not to have a stomachache and affect the concert. He thought it was better to be decent and planned to book the Chinese restaurant in school. Junior Master, I'm a fighter of professional ninth pin. I'm in good health. How can I have a stomachache? Anyway, you make the decision. You make the decision. Mo Jingting didn't insist. Looking at her cute words, Yenjeka's eyelids twitched. She felt uncomfortable and suddenly regretted being so generous and polite. She should have let Qing completely ignore her. Lu Qing replied coldly to Mo Jingting. Okay, text me before you arrive. After sending, he put down the phone and sighed. He turned to Yenjeka and smiled bitterly. I don't know why, but when I see her acting cute to me, I feel a little uncomfortable, even nauseous. Maybe this is forced acting cute and malicious acting cute. The reason was probably because Mo Jingting's image in his mind was a scheming girl who was not suitable for acting cute. Puff. Yenjeka couldn't help but laugh. The previous haze was swept away. At this moment, Lu Qing received 2 messages from Qiu Zhigao and Qin Mo. Chung, I'm kneeling to you. Accept my kneeling. Brother Chung, my dear brother, take me to see Jingting. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.